Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in live.
Hey, the show will start soon, folks.
Any minute. There's no reason not to start it now, right?
No.
Okay. Well, then we're going to start it.
Go for it.
We're going to rock and roll, people.
Let's start the motherfucking show, bitch.
And away we go. Come on, y'all.
Welcome, yo, to the veteran gamers. Juju, Ginny, and the fellas will tell you about every single game that you're playing this week. News, reviews, and an indie pick. Stu story time and Chinny's game breakers. Here comes Duke with soundbite saviors.
Crazy sound
It's
clip.
the veteran gamers.
A different crazy sound
It's the
clip.
veteran gamers.
Oh, the crazy sound clips are fun. Yeah, crazy
It's the
sound
veteran
clips.
gamers. Switch that console off.
I'll do the
before you
intro.
have to press repeat.
I should have talked about it.
Yeah, well, whatever.
Hello, and welcome to episode 664 of the Veteran Gamers Podcast.
Yay,
Enchantment?
664. Oh,
Now-
wait, clip this. Yeah.
There is only me and Eric here,
Why is Chinny the one hosting the show? This is so weird.
but somebody has just messaged the Discord saying, well, I can come in. Well, we've kind of started.
Damn, this is like on the fly processing of our process, people. Don't worry. We're getting it sorted.
Anyway, so yes, I do have a letter from Stu
All right, we're going to start with a letter.
as to
We don't
why.
usually start with a letter. First of all, let's start with who we are. I am Duke Scath. On Twitter, I am known as Duke Scath.
Yeah, I suppose. My name is Mike, and my last name is Chin. So
And he's
I'll
not
tell you
on
what,
Twitter.
some people say they call me Chinny because they are clever. So
That's crazy.
we usually have a third guest. Well, not guest, like host. He is the host
Right.
mainly
The host.
because
We have a host usually.
he does nothing else. So hosting the
Yeah.
show is the only thing he does. But he's not here, and I do have a letter from Stu as to why he's
All right.
not here.
Let's hear this letter from Stu. I don't have a little jingle for letters from Stu.
So it is quite a serious letter, so I need to lower the tone. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, letter from Shim. It is with sad news that I've decided to leave the show. It has finally dawned on me that Eric and Mike are so much better than me. Not only are they far smarter and wittier, they are also better looking too. It is
Damn.
due to
I'm
these
surprised
reasons.
he's being so like forthcoming. Usually
Yeah.
he's not.
It's due to these reasons and the fact that I can't grow a beard that I've left the show. Thank you very much, Stuart
Oh,
Power.
jeez. Wow. Well, it's sudden. It's surprising. It's not the reason I would have thought for him to not be here, but maybe we can convince him to come back.
Maybe.
I mean,
Okay.
He shouldn't worry about not being able to grow a beard. That's not. Look, as somebody who doesn't really have a beard, but who keeps getting stuff growing in, it's not anything that's like connected to my manhood. It's just hairs that come out of my face, really. So, look, let me say this about Stu's letter. And no, I am not just stalling so Chinny can do whatever he needs to do because clearly he's doing something.
I'm doing something.
I think that Stuart is a wonderful guy, and he is currently missed. We miss having him here because he would be telling some fascinating story if he were here about how he bought something at Sainsbury's and then went on an hour-long car trip with his wife and daughter and his daughter's boyfriend, and he was trying to keep a secret from them, and then they guessed what it was 2/3 of the way there. And we don't have that this week. All I have is a boring story, but I guess I can get started with it.
Go
I mean,
for
My
it, yeah.
favorite time. It's story time.
Story time.
Our dog is old. like 15 years old.
Tito.
Yeah. Tito, the dog, exactly.
Tito.
And he was being, after last week's show, he started being really like sluggish. And he had been kind of sluggish over the weekend, but we were starting to get worried. And so we called the vet on Monday morning. We were like, when can we bring him in? And they said Wednesday. So we were like, all right. And we started to worry that this might be his last visit to the vet. So I told the students, like, you know, look, I'm going to be out Wednesday and play nice with the guest teacher. And here's why. Now, here's the crazy part. When I said that in one of my classes, this might be our dog's last trip to the vet. This one kid goes, just get another dog.
Well, he's not wrong.
But to have that as your response when you find out that your
Does he
teenage
have
dog
pets?
might be-
That kid?
I don't know. And I was just, I
I'm gonna
looked at
guess
him and he
no.
goes, get one that looks just like him and give him the same name. And I was
Yeah.
like, okay, look, you're trying to make a joke at a time when I'm not really looking for jokes, dude. And that's, I think, an example of how the joke often is a manifestation of the ego. So that kid was just picking the wrong time to, like, be a goofball, I guess, but
Yeah.
whatever. Anyway, he's now doing a lot better. We went to the vet, and he's he was actually, when he goes to the vet, he gets freaked out because there's other animals around. He's in an uncertain place.
Yes.
Yada yada yada. But yeah, ever since then, like and like the day of, the night before and the day of, he was doing better and better. And maybe it's because we had him on this med for his.
So what was wrong
back
with him?
legs. Well, we don't really know. He was
just
taking this particular
moody.
medication for his legs, which are old and kind of
Yeah.
wobbly.
You've had him for
But
a
that
while
made it-
now.
Yeah, but it may have been messing with his liver a little bit. We don't really know what's going on. He's got some elevated liver, numbers. But he's doing a lot better now. That's the most important thing. And so we're going to kind of keep doing what we're doing. And we've got other treatment options if he starts to ail
Aw.
again. But for now, he's doing great.
I remember
so-
when I bought him that little teddy and he destroyed it instantly.
Oh man, instantly. He doesn't really chew on stuff these days. He doesn't he doesn't have much interest in chewing on things the way he used to, so he doesn't destroy
He's
things.
matured. He's matured.
I guess he's just gotten bored with it. It's like,
Yeah, I get it. I rip it up.
whatever.
It's a bit of
Yeah.
fun. It's like us
you
with
go
video
running
games.
after.
You know what I
pretty
mean?
much.
Another Assassin's Creed comes out. Okay, yeah, you're
Oh,
fucking killing people with a blade.
Whatever.
Whatever.
Who cares?
So I should probably tell people why Stu isn't here. It's because hemorrhoids. So we are expecting
butt.
maybe somebody else to jump in, but we might
Yeah,
not.
okay.
I don't know. Who
Cool.
knows?
Yeah.
I don't have anything interesting. I did go back to work this week.
You are recovered from the COVID, I hope.
I've recovered from COVID.
All right. Have you stopped
Last-
pooping so much?
I have stopped shitting myself, which is
Okay.
and today
Glad to hear it.
I'm sure people that are driving to work or cutting their lawn or walking their dog are happy to know that I,
Yay!
Chinny, have now passed a solid stool for the first time in about 2 weeks.
Yay!
So
That's
it's
not deserving of a victory song from Final
it
Fantasy
was such a
VII. I
big
don't know what it
occasion
is.
that Tara baked cake, which then gave me the shits again. So no, I'm only joking. So yes, I've recovered from COVID. I am suffering today from allergies, just complete coincidence because
Jeez, you're always sick.
I know. This is why I think the human race has lived too long, because I should be dead.
What?
Right? Because when they're
Carl
hunting,
Pilkington would agree with you.
when they're hunting and gathering, right?
Yeah.
And
right.
like I'm
this
in the
guy,
group.
let's leave him behind.
No, I'm in the group, right? Like
Yeah.
hunting for a lion or whatever, and I walk past some tulips, right? Like we get caught, they'll be eating me by 10 o'clock that night. They'll be we
Yeah.
liked him, he was funny, but he added nothing to the hunt.
Right.
know.
Sure.
So-
and I've never added anything to any hunt, so I never would have even.
No,
lived
you wouldn't
long
have
enough to
made
see
it
none
past
happen.
18.
There's
go-
a 30 Rock episode where Jack Donaghy says to Liz Lemon, played by Tina Fey, "What purpose would you even serve in a post-apocalyptic world?" And she says, "Traveling bard." So that would be what I do, just wander around telling stories, and nobody
Yeah.
would care.
I would maybe I would be some sort of traveling musician or
Yeah.
something, or a jester, where people
Which is basically what a bard did. So we'd all be traveling bards.
or like
I guess.
so, a jester where like they throw shit at them or something. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like that would
I mean,
be my role.
Stu would have the ability of like cooking. That would be useful.
Yes,
the
he'd be
Duchess would
useful.
be great. The Duchess would be building up this place as a fortress for her vegetables and her chicken. Like we would be set.
Yeah.
But I don't know what I can proofread that missive that you're writing.
Yes.
Like, that's not useful
Yeah.
in the post-apocalyptic.
We're
era.
basically saying here, listeners, if you don't know who we are, we're pathetic. We're pathetic
useless dorks.
shits. So enjoy while you listen to us for the next hour or so about talking about
Yeah.
video games.
It's gonna be great. And
I
if you're
think-
thinking, wait a minute, the Veteran Gamers podcast is usually 2.5 hours. Well, usually, but
Who
that's not going to
knows?
be the case tonight. We don't think.
Who knows?
Probably not.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know where this person is, so we might as well just get started, Duke.
let's get started. I don't have any more stories, so are we ready to jump in with what we've been playing? Okay, I'm
Where
gonna
are
take
you
that as a
going?
yes.
Story time's over, isn't it?
What you been playing?
Yeah.
What you been playing? What you been playing?
Say I took that hoodie off in a seamless
He's
transition there. That was
Naked.
nice. Okay. Well, Eric,
Okay, all right.
have you played
Chinny,
any video
Michael?
games
I have.
this week?
But I think you should start because
Okay.
nobody wants to dive into what I've been playing this week.
No.
So you should start with what you've been playing.
Rocket
Now,
League,
to set it things up, last week there was this idea in the ether that people put out there, and they said, I think you are the one who said it most of all, but Stu seemed willing to go along with it. What if we all played one game? Because we had all played You Suck at Parking last week, and the idea was this is good for us to all comment on a game.
Yes.
Let's maybe all play Deathloop. So,
Yes.
Chinny, did you play Deathloop this week?
No, I didn't. Not because I didn't want to. Not because I didn't want to. Because I had time to do that today. But I consciously didn't because Stu is dead. So
Yeah.
I thought, out of respect for Stu, we'd wait.
Yeah. Well, I also did not play Deathloop, and it's not out of respect for anybody. It was mostly just because the week was so hectic that when I had time to play games, I didn't want to deal with new game mechanics. I didn't want to have to follow a story.
No.
And people who know the show, you know that this is how I am. You know, I'll play new games sometimes, but AAA games are an investment of time and energy.
They
And
are.
especially during the school year, I'm always like, this is why I tend to go for indie games because they don't require so much, catching up with stuff, figuring things out. So anyway, the
Correct.
point is, I did not play Deathloop, so I'm very sorry about that.
No, that's okay. We'll see if we can aim to play it for next week. But while
Maybe.
we're talking, I'm going to introduce somebody else who's now popped into the room.
Do we have a third person finally?
We have a third person finally,
Yay!
and that is Susan. She's in the room.
Yay! Welcome, Susan.
She's gone again.
Uh-oh.
No, she's there.
She's here. In
She's
theory.
there. She's muted.
Yeah. She
Hello?
is muted.
No.
Oh.
There she is.
Here I am.
Yay!
Like technical issues.
Oh,
It wouldn't be the podcast if it didn't have technical issues.
yes. Hi,
Yeah,
Susan.
we're glad you're here, Susan LH.
Yeah. Bit of communication difficulty, and I
Yeah.
put
Yeah, I
out
know,
a
right?
message. Jenny put out a message quite late on saying,
Yes.
"Does anybody want to come?" And I put it out on all the social media, and I just got tumbleweed.
Yeah. It was
Are you
pretty.
suggesting that Chinny is not responsive to the communications
No, I wouldn't.
from the
I
community?
couldn't possibly suggest that.
Yeah.
Could I?
Yeah.
Because as we know, Chinny is always on the ball with
Oh,
everything.
no,
Always
what?
on the ball.
Oh, it was
When
pretty
he's
late
not on
in
the
the
toilet,
day.
he's on the
It was
ball.
pretty late
Yeah.
in the day, but
It's
yeah,
pretty late
it
in
was,
the day.
there was a resounding silence. I think we got one like, and that was about it. So,
But
so you got me.
we made contact, and you're here now. That's what
Yeah,
matters.
I'm the backup. I'm the backup.
Yes. We're
So,
glad you're here,
this is
SLH.
it.
How are you doing today?
To be fair, I haven't been that well of
Oh.
late.
Oh, no.
The
Well, join
usual
the
stuff.
club. Join the
Yeah, I
club.
know.
Yeah, really.
I know. This is why I know I'm in great company because
Yeah.
as we know, it's the veteran health podcast now
Yes.
because
Yeah.
we're all knocking on.
Gather
And
round.
some of us are more veteran than others.
We're thinking about doing the show from a waiting room, a GP waiting room next week.
Oh, I think so, or
Because-
A&E or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
With a drip or something.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to go into why you're not
No.
well.
It's the usual stuff. I'm
the
not
usual
going to
stuff.
describe like you did your
No.
days of diarrhea.
You don't
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go into detail about your bowel movements. You sure?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know,
We respect that. Everybody
I
gets to
know,
set their own
it's not
boundaries.
bowels,
It's
they're
totally
fine.
fine.
I'm
But we're
an
glad
open,
you're here.
I'm an open book. Me.
Yeah, we know.
Unfortunately,
You know.
It's
yeah.
just the way I am.
After
the kind of book you wish you could close sometimes.
It's the kind of book you want to pulp, but
Yeah.
you can't. Well, Susan, since you're here,
Yes.
Yeah.
have you played any video games that you would like to talk about on the show?
Yeah. And you don't have to limit yourself to the last week because it's
yeah,
been
well,
it's
I
yourself
would
around.
say
So
the last week's been a bit of a non-entity because
Yeah,
I
well.
haven't been good.
again,
but-
join the club. Like
Yeah, join the club.
We're gonna have to
and
drag
you've
this
been
out somehow.
stressed out your head, haven't you?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
somewhat.
I can see from your Twitter feed you're like hair on end. If you had any hair, it would be stood on end. So
Hey, somebody who looks at my Twitter feed once in a while. How about that? And
darling,
not just to see if
But
I listen to his latest
I
DJ
sent you
mix.
virtual hugs. the other
I
day.
know. You're one of my favorite people on Twitter.
I sent you a GIF actually.
Probably.
Yeah, saying
Yeah.
you got this, man. You got it. We know
Yeah,
you.
yeah, that's right. You did send that. I remember.
So yeah, this week has been a bit quiet on the old video games, but I had a bit of trauma the other day because I mainly play on Game Pass, and I actually managed to finish Power Wash Simulator.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
goodness!
Oh my
I didn't know there was
God.
an end to that.
There is an end to it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm
it's pretty
impressed.
majestic, and it goes a bit kind of surreal. There's an actual
Really?
story, and it goes a bit weird and surreal.
wow.
Shinny,
Yeah.
do you want to avoid spoilers? Because I'm dying to hear about this, and I don't think I'll ever see the end of Power Wash Simulator.
I'll just say that it involves aliens.
Does it really?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I've done that
Wow.
level. I think I've done that.
Well,
Is that the
that's
one
cool.
on Mars?
No, that's one of the special ones. You can do the Mars rover, but the actual sort of main career storyline has got. It starts to develop a bit of a story, and there's the community, and they're all kind of talking about this, that, and the other. But then, it starts to go into some strange territory, and it all a bit kind of tongue in cheek and that.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. You hate to see a game like this taking itself too seriously. So
Yeah,
that's good.
no, it doesn't. It completely doesn't. And I really enjoyed it. And Taffman came on and helped me out a bit, and I helped him out a bit. So that was nice. A bit of co-op, very silent co-op, because for those who have played Power Wash Simulator, it's a very zen type game.
It is.
Listen to the podcast or a podcast or an audio book or some tunes while you just so I got to the end of it, so I was really happy with that. But then when it comes up saying right, these games are coming off, I noticed Slime Rancher was coming off, and I was like, no.
That's a big one. People love that game.
I haven't finished it. And the reason I haven't finished it is because I'm an absolute strumpet when it comes to Game Pass. Complete trollop.
Well, that's the problem with having so many options. For
I know.
not free,
I just
but,
play like
yeah,
little
just
bits of
right in
everything.
front of
Oh,
you.
that's really good. Yeah, I must play that properly at some point. But I'll move on to
You're
this
a
one.
grazer. You're a grazer. You're
I
grazing.
basically turned into Stu.
Yes.
After being somebody who
You've
was
got a
very
long way to go
linear.
before you turn into with
know.
regard to this one aspect, I suppose.
Yeah, I know. I do have to probably talk a little bit. Mind you, no, I do talk an awful lot. I am turning into Stu. Oh my God, I'm turning into Stu.
Yeah.
So I've been trying bits, but I like all my gaming life, I've always been quite linear, where I've just concentrated on one, and seen it to the end. Everybody's playing this other new game, and I'm like still.
You're sticking with it. Yeah, I do that a lot. Yeah.
185 hours of whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So but when I got started on Game Pass, I've just lost the plot, and I'm just like grazing on everything. But it does mean that I'm not finishing games, and then when they go off, I'm like
Yeah.
So I decided
Yeah, go ahead.
So I decided that I was going to have to start finishing games. So this week I've been mainly concentrating on my time at Porsche.
Oh yeah, okay.
Which I kind of nearly got to the end of, and that's a bit weird as well, because you've got like a main kind of quest list, and you get to the end of it and you get the titles, but then when you look on sort of like some of the fan pages and the true achievements and all, there's a whole pile more.
Then there's the end game. That's when the good stuff starts.
It's
you know?
just like, whoa,
dude.
what's going on? So I thought, right, I'm going to get to the end of actually all the quests. So I think I've only got like more to do. So I'm going to do that.
It's weird. Porsche's one of those games that I like to go back to, but then I don't stick with it for very long. It just feels like
it does get
I
quite
don't know
boring
why.
day after day. When you've got a quest to do, but then I think from what I can gather, you could just play it ad infinitum and just do.
See, that's the thing, right? And I kind of like that part of it. And I think, like, okay, last time I played it, I remember there was some fighting competition.
Yeah.
And it just felt so weird, and like I didn't know.
There's a
what to do, and
fighting
the combat's
competition
not great.
in my time at Porsche.
Yeah, and you're just
there's
boxing
4
with people.
seasons, and every season there's like a competition. So there's a fishing competition, a farming competition for like who can grow the biggest vegetable.
This is an Animal Crossing style game, and there was a fighting
It's,
competition.
it's a bit like Stardew Valley kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
But
where
it's Stardew Valley's mostly focused on growing crops. This game's
Yeah.
mostly focused on building things.
What's
But
next?
You can
Like,
grow crops.
what's like cockfights? Like, what are they gonna do?
No, but you can tame a llama, and one of the things that you do in the season is like a horse race. But if you've got a llama that you've tamed, like one of the multicolored llamas, it's like pink and orange, you can actually race your llama. And then the other one's like a snowball fight, and you get
Yeah.
extra rewards for those, and you can use them to spend on accessories for your house or clothing or whatever. So
Yeah, the clothing is kind of ill. I like some of the clothing options you have in this
Yeah,
game. But
some
here's
of them
the
are pretty
real
cool.
question, Susan.
Mhm.
Who did you befriend? Who did you marry someone from the town of Portia?
yeah, well, I've again with my little trollop head on, but also because I wanted to get the achievement, I realised
Yeah.
that you could marry somebody, then divorce them, and then marry somebody
Oh.
else.
Okay.
So
And
I
is there an
married.
achievement for divorcing and then remarrying?
Yeah, there's a treatment
Wow,
for
okay.
divorcing.
Wow, Microsoft
But
are
then-
encouraging that, are they?
Yeah, yeah. So I married Arlo, who was like the chief of the guards or whatever.
Yeah. I know.
Some
Yeah,
gingery
yeah,
looking
he's kinda
chap.
cool.
And then I had a child with him, and then I've just sacked him off. Told him one day, didn't want to be
Yeah.
married to him anymore. Sorry, mate. Because Gust, who's like, he's like an architect designer type dude. He's very kind of
You got swooned.
standoffish. Yeah, so he's been kind of in the background, and I got to like a point with him where he's like a really good friend, and I thought you could potentially marry him, and there's an achievement for marrying him. So I thought,
Okay.
there we go. I'll just
There you
bin
go.
off Arlo, and I'll just
Yeah.
marry Gust. So I'm just
Sorry,
that
dude. Nothing personal. It's just I want the achievement for getting
Yeah.
rid of you.
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't.
Hit the
I
road,
don't
Jack.
care for you as a person. You're just a goal for me.
Yeah, that was it.
Go away.
Yeah, and I never
Yeah,
mind the
that-
child.
Yeah. Well, the child will be fine. It seems to me like, and maybe I just didn't stick with it, but it felt like the relationships in this game progressed very slowly. I felt like I would visit with people like over and over and over, and I just didn't
have to
feel like we were
work
making
on it.
progress. And that's probably true about Stardew as well. But for whatever reason, Stardew just addicted me in a way that this game didn't. So
Yeah, no, you have to really work on it, and I think once you get to a certain stage with them where they actually become kind of buddies, you can go on play dates with them, and that's when you start getting your points.
nice.
So just like talking
Yeah.
to somebody on a regular basis, you get like 2 points a day. You give them a gift, it gives you
Yeah.
like 5 points. But I mean, once you start taking them on play dates, you get like 40 points at a
If
time.
only the real world worked like that.
I know. So yeah.
Well, that's the
Anyway,
thing
I
is that
really
these
enjoyed
games
it.
are-
It's a daft game, but I really enjoyed it. So
Yeah, I mean it is, but it's fun. It's like the mechanics in it work well. Like it's satisfying to build stuff in this
Yeah,
game. It's
I love
satisfying to
it.
reach goals and stuff. But the thing about like I've been thinking a lot about the relationships between people in these games. Stardew has it, obviously Portia has it. Some MMOs have it. You know, how do you make a game with relationships if it's not based on, as it is in these games, you know, giving gifts, you have points, you raise the meter, and then you get to friendship, and then you get to romance. Like that's not how all relationships work, right? A lot of times you try to get to be friends with someone and they're just not interested, or you realize there's something between you that's not cool at a certain point, or you know, you become friends, but then you want to push it further and they don't want to be romantically involved. So I'm looking forward to the next generation of that evolution.
yeah,
where,
you know, Sims have done something similar. You know, where they've
Yeah.
actually put in like if you're interested in politics, for instance, and the person is just doesn't like politics, you're not going to get on with them as well as somebody who's got the same interests as you. And if there's somebody who doesn't like, I don't know, ginger hair, and you've got ginger hair,
Me.
then they're going to be repelled by you. So I quite like,
hey, ginger balls.
Yeah.
yeah. Or I haven't got ginger balls. If I had ginger hair, I wouldn't. But you know what I mean.
there you go. Yeah.
But yeah,
No,
so I
absolutely,
quite
and
like
it's an
that
interesting
they've done
thing.
that.
Yeah. And like I remember the first time I played The Sims, I was back in Florida and I was teaching 8th grade students, and I mentioned that I played The Sims, and they were like, "Oh, isn't it great?" And I was like, "No, it's too realistic. Like I already have a job I have to go to and bills
Yeah,
I have to
you'd
pay."
hate that,
And in
yeah.
a way, what
You
you
have to go
say
to the
about like having to
toilet,
find someone who
stuff.
matches your interests, part of that makes me think like, "Oh God, another thing to deal with in virtual."
That was
relationships."
hard enough in real life.
Exactly. Like imagine if the Duchess didn't like video games. Oh wait, she doesn't.
Well, just do what I did in real life. Is just hypnosis. Is what I did.
Oh, there you go.
Is
And,
that what you did?
That's
Is
what I
that-
did.
Yeah.
That's
You've
why I'm
seen
here
my
every-
wife, Susan. You
Yes.
know
You talking
there
about-
has to be.
Punching.
Has to be hypnosis.
She lost a bet.
Sometimes she wakes up and looks at me going, "How did?" And I go, "Who's?"
Well, that's what Chris Rock said. He's like, you know, you're not her first choice.
No.
Every day she wakes up, she's like, get rid of this
Yeah,
motherfucker.
I'm like,
so I can go
I'm
find...
like the one behind bronze. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm.
You must have other qualities.
Uh,
A big wallet or something.
He's really good at going to the bathroom, as we
really
established.
good at that. I suppose
Why that's appealing to other people, I don't.
I'm quick. That's one thing I've got. Pretty quick.
Quick at what?
Well-known trait.
Wit.
Very appealing for women.
Wit.
Oh, I thought you meant like in the
Wit.
bedroom. Sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, you got quick wit,
I
right?
thought you just meant you were quick, and I thought, well, that's not necessarily a good thing.
2.5 minutes. That's all he needs.
No. Well, it
Wit.
could be. I mean, you
Right,
can
yeah.
get more
Well,
done.
You're funny, you mean? You're funny.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for a lot of
Tall.
people, that's an
I like
important
tall
element,
men.
you know.
Yeah, tall. Yeah, tall. That's I've got that. I've got that. No,
You have a stable job.
no
Yeah.
bottom. I've got
You
no
don't smell
arse.
too terrible.
I don't
Well,
know.
that's not necessarily a good thing either.
I don't know. I know. I don't know what I sit on. To be honest, I have no idea.
Bones.
Yeah, just pure bones. Yeah. But anyway, my time at
Are
Porsche.
you? Let me ask this about Porsche. Sorry. Are you interested in playing Sandrock SLH?
Yeah.
You know about the new
Well,
one?
that's
Yeah.
one of the reasons I thought, right, I need to get my time at Porsche boxed off because it'll drop
Yeah.
off Game Pass as probably as soon as my time at Sandrock comes on. And I thought, oh gosh, yeah, I better do that. So yes, I do
Yeah.
want to play my time at Sandrock.
I've heard good things, and I'm curious to know if the general distance I feel from Porsche might be a little different with Sandrock. There's a demo you can play for free on Steam. I don't know if you've given that a shot. But...
No, I keep thinking, right, I need to go on Steam because I've got a gazillion games in my library, and whenever there's a Steam sale, I go, ooh, and I buy something, and I think, oh.
Yeah.
So, and then I just add them to the library of games that I don't play. So, but I did buy the other week a cheap Steam link. So, because one of the things that I find awkward, and specifically since I've been poorly, is sitting up playing games at my PC. It's not comfortable. So
Yeah.
I prefer when I'm comfy. So yeah, now I've got a Steam link.
Well, there you go.
You are
What-
turning into Stew.
I am basically,
Because
aren't
that's what
I?
he
Wait till you
says.
put the helmet on. When you get the
Basically,
VR on, then it'll
Yeah.
be all over.
Oh, I don't like, sitting on computer desk and yeah.
Yeah, I haven't got Stu's money though because he does all right, but I don't.
He does all right, doesn't he?
He does all right.
He does all right.
Bless
Bless
his
him.
boots.
Okay, so yeah, my time at Porsche. Good. We do have people in the chat. I forgot to talk
Hi,
about.
people in the chat.
So we have Darren Sim who said, I can't make tonight, but I want to be on the show." I was like, "Well, tough shit, Darren.
It's not some open invitation. You can just wander in whenever
You
you
just
want.
walk
You better
in.
brace
I
yourself.
might just
for
let anybody in
episode
tonight."
700, perhaps.
Rainy Lamb is in the chat. Hardly Dan Antonio, who
hi.
usually is a guest,
Hi.
but I
Yeah,
just
why is
thought
Antonio not on?
not because no reason. It's just that I
thought
wanted
maybe
to.
He's always the
He's your
we wanted to
regular
mix it up.
stand-in.
I wanted to mix it up, yeah. And
I
I
love
should.
Antonio. Don't get
Yeah,
us
of
wrong.
course.
We do, and he's ever so good on this. He
Um,
knows his stuff, so don't expect that from me because I
no.
know nothing. I know
Yeah.
nothing, absolutely nothing.
But you very rarely come on as well, so it's nice to have you
I've
on.
been on once.
And
Yeah.
you played a game that I've played, so I had something to talk about.
Yeah.
Antonio comes in and he goes multiverses, and I'm like, I didn't
Yeah,
really like
yeah.
that. And what can I
Yeah,
say?
he's very good at gaming.
He plays things
I've
that are-
multiplayer with him once.
And
and
the
he's
annoying
just-
thing about Antonio, he plays things that have come out recently, which is just not
Yeah,
the
really.
style of the
and
show.
that, like other people are interested in, so like they're likely to want to know what
it's not how we do things
Ugh.
here. We also have
Yeah,
James
exactly.
Bevan in the chat. Matt Weston in the chat. He says, "When are you
What
ever
up?
in 100% condition?" This is probably as good as it gets. That's true. Hardy
That's a good
Dan, Hardy Dan, Soul Brother #1, and they're all sitting there. So hello to the chat. Susan,
Howdy.
you're usually in there, but not tonight.
I know it feels a bit weird to not be in the chat tonight.
It's
sort
gone
of
through the
at
looking
you.
glass.
I think what we're gonna do, Sue, is we're gonna have a meet up next year. I think now,
Sounds like a good plan to me.
but I think Bury is on the cards. Bury.
Bury.
I know Stu wants to go to Blackpool, but that's like further for everybody. I don't know. We'll work it out. So that's the plan. And I know my brother-in-law Simeon was talking about it as well, and he was like, "I'd like to go to that. That sounds
He
brilliant."
only lives up the road from me, doesn't he?
He lives in Stockport. Yeah, I was there
Yeah, that's where I
today.
live.
I was there today in Stockport.
You could have come in for a
I
cup of
I
tea.
could have. Yeah, I was.
Really?
I was,
Let
yeah.
someone know.
Yeah, I didn't know he was in Stockport though. Oh right,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
I live
okay.
about. Wait, if you said he was in Hazel Grove.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm about a mile and a half away from
Oh,
there.
well, there you go. There you go. Next time I'm up, because I do go up, Susan, I
I
do
know
go
you
up
do. I
all
keep
the
thinking,
time.
you probably
Next time I'm
passed
up,
my house.
we will make an effort and I'll pop over or something.
Yeah.
So yes, so I think Simeon is interested in coming as well. So a few
Oh,
people can
that'd be good.
go and we'll meet up, and we haven't done that for
Is this the
about 3
arcade
years.
club thing?
Yeah,
Mm.
that'll be good.
Not been there.
Stu was a bit wobbly about it, but
he's not here.
But
So
he's not
screw
here,
him.
so
Well, yeah, I think we should just make an executive decision here.
yeah,
There
just
you
do
go.
We've got a quorum, so I think,
Totally.
I don't think he's
all
that
in
fussed
favour of
anymore because
Berry?
he's like, I've not had COVID, but I think he's had it now. So
He's had it at least once,
yeah,
potentially
Yeah.
twice.
you can't let COVID rule your life.
Well, I having had COVID a second time, because I know, if you know, when I came back from Glastonbury, I came back full of COVID,
Yeah,
which I'd managed to avoid since the beginning of the pandemic when I had it and it nearly killed me. So I wasn't very happy.
no.
And it's
course
really,
not.
really knocked the stuffing out of me again.
Yeah.
So that's why I've not been
The
very
second
well.
time, the second I had it, didn't I? The second time I had it,
Yeah.
it was the worst. It was just the worst.
The abdominal gastro stuff is really common.
Yeah.
Really common.
Oh man, it's not pleasant. Anyway, we're
Anyway, let's talk about health again. So I wouldn't want to get COVID again, but you can't stay inside.
you
forever.
gotta,
You just got to be sensible.
Mask up.
Got to be sensible.
Sensible. Okay. I'm going to talk about a game that I've
You
played.
talk about a game.
I'm going to talk about a game. I was working away this week in a place called Dunstable. Do we know where Dunstable is, Susan?
Do you know where it does?
Never.
So I've never heard of Dunstable. I have no idea what was in. There was a snooker hall in Dunstable, which I found out on the night because I was staying there for 2 nights. So I was like, what am I going to do on the night? So I went there, but in the day we had to film this conference, and it's all fine. It's a conference. The problem when you film an event or a conference like that is that there's a lot of like filming, sitting down, doing the work, which is pretty sort of. Not the talks are not that the talks are boring, but the job that you have to do is kind of mundane. You just sort of like follow a person or whatever. And then in between, there's a lot of downtime. There's a lot of like breaks and like networking that we didn't really have to get much footage of. And there's lunches and they're all swanning off. And it was at a place called Ashridge House. Do you know this, Susan? It used to be Henry VIII's yard, basically. It used to be his house. Very posh.
I don't know about that. Then,
very posh house. So we had a lot of downtime, and Tom, who I was with, I got him addicted to Prison Architect years ago. He started busting out Cities Skylines,
Ooh.
and I was like, "Oh, Cities Skylines! I haven't played that for years," and I never quite got into it. So during the downtimes, we would play City Skylines, and we had the laptop there, and as he was doing something, I was making a city, like adding to the city, and then while I was doing, he was adding to a bit to the city, and we kind of worked on this city on the same laptop co-op throughout like the 3 days.
You can co-op on it, can you?
No, but like we just had the laptop there,
So one
and
laptop
because
and you both had a bit.
sometimes you'd have like 30 minutes of like, oh, there's nothing to do for 30 minutes here, so okay, well, you've checked some emails or whatever, and it's like, okay, well, what am I gonna do? Like, just we'll add some blocks to our City Skylines thing. So we kind of played it sporadically through the 3 days, and I've got this burning desire to play City Skylines again, and I never quite played it that much when I first got it.
You got really into it for a minute.
I got for about a week. I got really into it, and then I stopped. But there's so many. I've never really got into modding and things like that. But there's so many mods that improve the game, like traffic flow and junctions, and you can do all sorts of mad stuff with it. And it improves like the metro system on the game and the beaches. There's no beaches on the game, but you can add beaches. So I'm like, oh, do I go down this like stupid rabbit hole of playing this game? And the way I want to make a city which is kind of like the one on the screen there, where it's all symmetrical and like very aesthetically pleasing. I've never really managed that.
There's a great desire to have the city look beautiful, but a lot of times when you play the game, you're just slapping things on here and there, and it becomes this
because we had this problem on our city where Tom had sort of made the city so it sort of takes one side, and I was like, we need to move people on the other side. So as he was doing a bit of work, I made a junction where it kind of connected the thing, and it took us ages to work out how to make these one-way roads connect to the other side of the thing, and it was an absolute hot mess. It looked awful, but it functioned pretty well, like me, right? Actually, it's probably the opposite. Anyway, but it was like the spaghetti junction on the M6, Susan. You know, it was just like that. It was just a mess.
Right, what on earth?
Yeah, and we managed to make it work, and but it's good fun. So I've got the itch. Every now and again, I get an itch to play a game like Prison Architect or City Skylines, where I've just got to make something, and I feel like I want to get into the mods, Duke. That's what I want to get into. I want to get into and I'm scared of them.
Well, it's a huge world. When you step into the world of mods, no matter what the game is, especially a game as old as City Skylines, like there's a lot of content out there. Yeah.
But I'm sort of interested in the
very useful to let you play the game you want.
I'm sort of interested in the game improvement mods, not so much like here's a bloody winter mountain range mod, or you know what I mean. I'm more interested in the ones that kind of this lets you sort of customize the lanes on the road a bit more or something like that. Right. And there's a YouTube channel that I got addicted to about a year ago, even though I wasn't playing City Skylines, where he just sort of downloads other people's cities and improves them. And I was like, how does he do that? But yeah, it's fascinating. It's absolutely fascinating. So I feel like I'm going to get back into it again because I've had a little bit of a taste of it. So that's my first game that I'm going to talk about. Duke.
Cool. Yeah, so I've been playing Rocket League, but there's nothing to say about it other than it's a game that is filled with sour, angry children. But I posted on Twitter, and some people may have seen, I've been doing this thing where I call it toxic positivity, because if somebody carries me, they score all the goals for your game, then I'll start writing like, carry me faster, do it now. And then when they're like, sometimes they'll play along and they'll go, okay, sorry. I'll type in, no talking, score more goals. But I played with someone this past week who said, it's your passes. You're giving me great passes. And I was like, shut up about my passes. Like, hurry up. So anyway, but the big game I've been playing, the game I've been playing most of all this week.
Something modern, something fresh.
Something just came out this past week. No, absolutely not. Guild Wars 2. That's right. It's the free-to-play MMO that came out in 1741. I don't remember when it came out. It's been around for a while.
2012.
Never changed, you.
Never changed.
I think it was 2012. I'm going to find out now.
Something like that. But here's the thing. As I've said
2012,
on the podcast before.
Still got it.
There you go. Nailed it. I want to play an RPG, but the RPGs are all MMOs these days. Or they're Elden Ring style, like really hard, like all this stuff.
You're gonna die 1,000 times.
Right. Exactly. So I Guild Wars 2 is like an old shoe. It fits well, and it's also the type of game that I can put on. I have these playlists for when I play games like this, and it includes like to be fair, some new age pap, Enigma, Delirium, Conjure One, whatever. So. Especially if I'm having a rough week at school, I can come home, play a little Rocket League, and then put on Guild Wars 2 and, just sort of wander around. Now, the worst thing about Guild Wars 2, and this is saying something because it's not really a big deal, but you don't really have quests as such. What you have is this enormous world with all these activities in it, and you go to a part of that world, and there will be a person who says, hey, I need help doing these tasks in this little area. And you build up stuff, and then, you basically complete enough of those tasks, and you basically clear that area. And then you move on to the next area, and you just rinse and repeat. There is a storyline for your character. So depending on what your character's origin is and what we're looking at here, and I know everyone's fascinated to know about this, this gameplay footage that we have is from a Sylvari, which is the race of people who are coming out of trees and I can just tell that Chinny is like, where do I play this? I can't wait.
I'm
Orcs and elves
watching
and
it.
wizards and shit. And people who come out of trees.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean the graphics are ancient. They need to make a Guild Wars 3 because it's 10 years old, right?
10
And they
years
didn't
old.
really update the graphics.
And
of it.
I suppose it wasn't a graphical powerhouse when it came out at the time.
Well, no, and it was. I mean, here's the thing. With the tools they have, it's gorgeous. Like I don't know if it would have been gorgeous at the time, but I think that they do a lot with the tools that they have. So there are these jumping puzzles called vistas, and when you get to them, there's this button that you press, kind of like in Assassin's Creed when you get to the top of a tower, and you kind of, it gives you a visual tour around that spot. And there's some really nice images there. Now, again, it's old school graphics, so it's not going to look stunning by today's standards, but I still think it's pretty to look at. So for whatever it's worth, I really enjoy the game. It's relaxing, but there is a story that you go through. And at a certain point, you start from, there's like 6 races. There's humans, there's the Silvari, there's Norn, which are like big, bulky, kind of humanish, and then there's these like cat-like things, and then there's another one I can't. Oh yeah, these little tiny people who are like scientists and stuff. And so yeah, I'm playing through the Silvari because it's I haven't done them before. I did a human last time I had a character run through. But yeah, and then you get to level 80 is your max level for your character, and then you unlock all this other content. There's these dungeons, and they're called fractals, these other dungeons, and you can get a group of people together and go through those. But I tend to play solo, so I don't know if I'll ever even do those. But yeah, it's fun. Guild Wars 2 is just a really fun game. There's a lot of content. The people are really friendly on there.
Do you always play it solo, Duke?
I tend to. Now, here's the thing. I joined a group called Remnants of Hope once upon a time because I was like, I'll see if I can find people. Here's the thing. Look, and this is true about veteran gamers too. When we have like play dates and stuff, having a time to meet up with people it doesn't matter when it is. It doesn't matter even in the summer. There's a part of me that's just like, I have something on my calendar. You know what I mean?
You don't want to be told when to play games.
Exactly. And so what
You're
I
the
want
man
is a
to
group of
tell
people.
you.
I want a group of people to always be there when I'm ready, but I don't have to do anything to meet their schedule, right? Which is ridiculous. That's not how it works. Yeah, Dan used to play Guild Wars too. So what was your favorite race, Dan?
What's your favorite race, Dan?
What's your preferred build? So yeah, like I joined Remnants of Hope. They tend to play at like 8 or 9 p.m. my time. And like that's when the Duchess and I are gonna hang out and watch TV for a little bit before we go to bed. So it's this weird thing where I join the game. There's like 10 people from this guild on there, and I'm like, hey, what's going on, people? And they're like, hey, what's up? And then like that's it. That's the only interaction we have. Or if I have a question I can't answer through the wiki, then I'll just put it in the chat and they'll go, I think you have to do this or that. But if you want to do a dungeon, you generally need 5 people, right? So I'll ask, hey, anybody feel like doing a dungeon? And sometimes people will. But the problem with dungeons in MMOs, and this is true about like raids or not raids, but like I don't even know what they're called. In Destiny 2, there are things like this. Lots of games have them.
I think they're called raids.
These adventures you do as a group, right?
Yeah.
Generally speaking, if you don't know the group of people, if you're not playing it together as a group, the game, right? The strangers that you team up with have done it before.
Yeah.
So they know exactly where to go. They are moving through it very quickly. And I'm like, oh, here, let's find out what's going on in this dungeon. And they're like, I want to kill the baddies.
No, there's nothing in there. There's just this loot, and then they sort of know everything.
Yeah, but you want to open every box.
Right. And I think you mentioned this, Jenny, one time when you were playing Far Cry with someone. It's like co-op can be fun, but it's you can't have a story experience when you're playing with other people. It's just so I don't think any game has really nailed that part of it yet in terms of like
I think
now
like No Way Out or whatever it is, the two where you getting out of jail,
right? Because you have to play that together.
Yeah, because
that's
designed from the ground up to be played together.
Right,
and
exactly.
Yeah, it takes 2 and all that sort of stuff.
And these games, like games like Guild Wars 2 have to give content that you could do solo, but then there's also content you have to do as a group, and that's fine. I'm not complaining. One of the things that they do really well in Guild Wars 2 is where they do kind of meet in the middle. In other words, there's events that will happen just constantly around the world that you really can't do them by yourself, but people just in the area will just kind of, when they start happening, they'll just kind of show up. you know, and you don't have to formally unite and make a party or anything. It's just that people come together and they're like, okay, let's beat this bad guy, or let's protect this caravan as it's going down the road, or whatever it is. So that's kind of cool to see informal groupings. And occasionally you find someone who's sort of around your level and you might say, hey, why don't we team up for a little bit, and then you can do some stuff together. But you know, most of these games are designed to be played. I mean, guild is in the name of the game, right? You're supposed to play it with other people.
It's the war of the guilds.
Yeah, exactly.
Again.
The second one.
Again.
Yeah, right.
All right. So
yeah,
Guild
not
Wars
much
2.
to say about it. It's just a lot of fun and very relaxing.
Well,
That's what it's about, though. Fun. It's about
fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Fun. It doesn't
Fun.
matter.
No, that's not. See,
As
you're
long
not
as
turning
you
into
enjoy
Stu
it.
as Susie. If you were Stu, you'd say, "I just don't get it. Why do he play his game?
Oh,
every
get
time?"
it. No. It's just bloody walking round.
Yeah.
Um,
No, it's pretty fun, and it doesn't really matter. I mean, I think you posted something the other day about playing on easy, and I now play most games on easy because I just want fun. I really don't want to be bothered with, you know, having to play the same bit over and over again because I keep getting wiped out. So,
And it's always been arbitrary anyway. That's the thing that bugs me about it. People have this idea that, like, this is the medium level or difficult level is the way the game's supposed to be played. According to whom? And according to people whose lives are different from mine. You know, they may have different stress levels at work. They may not have kids or whatever it is. So there's no one difficulty level in a video game that is like the correct one. It's all what you're interested in.
yeah, totally. And it depends what you want out of the experience. If you want a challenge, I know there's lots of people who do think, right, I'm going to play it on like insane level.
Right.
And because they do want that challenge and they do want to get all the points and all the achievements and everything like
Which
that,
is fine.
that's great. But if you game to relax, that's not a fun experience. And particularly from things like, you know, accessibility. I know because I've got dyspraxia, I find it very difficult hand-eye coordination. So some games are really hard, and anybody who's playing games with me, where there's any kind of platforming and I have to jump, will know that I am absolutely rubbish. I cannot judge distances, and I just fall down all the time. Now that would be something that a lot of people would find really easy, but that's a real challenge for me, which I don't mind because that's part of the fun. But if I play it on insane, there's absolutely no way I could do it. So, people are coming at it from different places, aren't they?
Yeah, totally.
I played a game just today, Susan, that I would like to know more about, and you would be the person to tell me. I played Slime Rancher 2.
I wouldn't go. I'm going to play.
There you go.
So that came.
One's very good.
I've never played a Slime Rancher game, so I had
It's
no
so
idea.
much fun.
I had no idea what it was. Right, I was like, I thought it was some sort of like 2D game where you like
Oh, it's
farm
like it's slimes, man.
slimes or whatever, and then it's like a 3D first-person shooter where you have to suck up these little slime blobs. I didn't play it for very long,
You
Susan.
ranched them.
So yeah,
match them.
so you put them in a little box, and then they just sort of bob around a bit, and then they shit
then they
out these. What do they call them? Plorts.
Plorts, yeah, they poop plorts, and you have to collect the poop.
Yes.
And you basically sell the poop on the open market, and the price of the poop goes up and down. And but you've got to keep them happy as well, because
How?
well, you feed them their favourite food,
Like chicken.
and
I fed them like live chickens, which I
well, some of
enjoyed.
them, yeah, but some of them are vegetarian, so they wouldn't like chicken.
You gotta give
do-
the right food to the right slime.
I
gotta
do
get the
enjoy like stuffing them all in the same pen and just letting them suffer together.
Yeah, but then what they do is they eat each other's poo, and then they then
Morph.
turn into they turn into different slimes. And sometimes what you can do is you can get, if they morph too much, they can become evil.
Oh, really?
Oh yes.
Interesting.
I really
And they will
like that.
And they will eat all the other slime. So
Good.
yeah, you've got to be really careful with them because got to
So
keep them
how
happy,
do I?
play music to them, and
Oh yeah, I saw that. How do
Yeah,
I?
but this is
earn-
Chinny we're talking to. He's
Yeah,
a
that's
psychopath and everything.
he's a psychopath. I remember him in Minecraft.
Minecraft, yeah.
There
You go to like Susan's
Oh,
part of
man.
Minecraft, and it was this beautiful, serene like garden, and it was
Yeah, it's
lovely.
gorgeous.
And then you go to mine, and you go, Chinny, where's your farm? And it's like underground,
Concrete, underground, no
Yeah.
light, no grass.
Yeah.
and all the
he's
cows just want to.
basically killing them.
They're
Yeah.
all
all
the time.
utilitarian.
It's like, It was like mass chicken farming, and I was just traumatized.
You've got to balance it though, so you can't have what you've got without what I've. It's like.
But here's the thing: that the reason there are factory farms in the world is because they're trying to make money. Chinny's not even making money off of this.
No.
No, he wasn't. He was just collecting like bits of chicken and not selling them. Or
Same
anything.
reason he wanted to have a statue of himself made out of diamonds.
Oh, I missed that statue. That's still somewhere, isn't it? Surely.
Yeah. We sidelined it for a bit.
We can bring it back.
Yeah.
We can bring it back.
So Phil did because you have to pay sort of every month for the realm. So it just goes into archive, and then when we're all ready to jump back on again, it just got a bit that there weren't many people on it. So rather than pay every month, we just thought, right, we'll just stick it in archive for a bit, and then
it's one of those games though that you get waves. You get like, oh, I feel like playing it again. There,
You think, so I've got a Minecraft, and then everybody jumps on for a bit, and then everybody gets bored and moves on to something else.
It lasts about 2 months, and then that's fine.
But I think the original kind of G4TE realm that way back when.
Yes,
that was a bit like that, wasn't it? Everybody went crazy for a bit, and then it stopped, and then it went crazy again. And
Valheim, same thing.
Valheim, yeah. Somebody mentioned Valheim. Sean Thiel in the chat says, "I know he's talking about graphics, saying they don't mean much because of Guild Wars 2. Right. He's still playing Valheim every day,
and it's coming to Game Pass. So if you never played Valheim, here's your chance.
I've never played Valheim.
I remember playing it. Like us three on the show. We played it, didn't we? And I was, we were like rubbing sticks and like hunting goats, and then I jump in with the SEAL team server, and they've got like a working like water mill, and like the Iron Age, and I'm like, oh my god, this is nuts. But anyway,
because that's the difference in Minecraft. You won't have people going to those kinds of advancements because it's all one.
Yeah, well, I mean, our realm. I walk around our realm, and there's people doing like amazing things, and I'm just about managing to collect a few cows.
There's people flying around, just like flying out of my statue.
You go out one day and come back the following day, and there's like an amazing kind of structure that's been built.
Yeah, that is cool.
And you're like, So some people really, really good, and they know exactly what I've read a few Minecraft books lately, actually, so that next time I'm going to be
it's a kind of like a momentum, isn't it? If people sort of go, oh, I want to play Minecraft again, like us talking about it now could start it. You never know when it could start. But if enough people on the Discord servers like, I could get into Minecraft for another month, then like I'll pay for it for a month, or somebody will sub it for a month, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that's what we used to do. We just kind of split it between us, and somebody pay for a month, and then somebody pay for another month.
It's only like £7 or something.
Runs it. It's his realm, so
yeah, I'm sure he'd turn it on. Yes, but anyway, back to Slime Rancher 2. So I was kind of interested in it. Susan. There's reading in it which I didn't really like, so I skipped all that. And
and then I was like, "What's the story behind this game?" I didn't care.
No, I was telling it. It's because you're not read it.
So the aim of the game is to what? What's the aim of the game?
Ranch slimes.
Yeah, to ranch slimes. So it's a bit like a kind of a farming game, but you ranch different slimes, and then there's different areas that you can unlock, and you have to find maybe how to kind of trigger a slime to release something that'll help you unlock something, and you may trade with other Slime Ranchers. I've not played Slime Rancher 2, as I'm basing this on Slime Rancher the original. But I mean, and you may catch a slime and then find that its favorite food is this particular type of vegetable or fruit.
How do you know what its favorite food is?
It kind of tells you.
How does it?
Yeah, when you kind of click on it, it'll say. But then you can also build like bigger and better corrals for them, and some of them are nighttime slimes, so they don't like the daylight.
Okay.
So you have to build sort of dark corrals or put them in a cave, and some of them are very messy, so they'll bounce out if you're not careful.
I am going off it a bit because I have to be nice to them. I like the idea of being mean to them.
But you know what?
There are games where you can be mean.
When they're happy slimes, they sing.
Yes.
Don't you? Well, it's a question though. Is there any way, maybe a mod, that Chinny could torture them into singing?
Yes.
That would be right up Chinny's alley.
There is a game called Cult of the Lamb, isn't there? Which is a very popular game where you have to like build a cult. I think that's more my thing, isn't it? Really, because you have to sacrifice.
Listeners who
people
are
and
new
stuff.
to the show, can you guess if Chinny saved the town of Megaton in Fallout 3 or blew up the town of Megaton? I bet you won't be able to tell.
I remember when that little kid ran up to me in Megaton going, "Are you gonna save us from all the bad people in the game?" I was like, "I'm gonna blow you up first."
I am the one who knocks.
I am the bad
Yeah,
person.
that's right.
No.
And so I mean, what I like about Slime Rancher 2 is that it was sort of like unfolding before my eyes of like, oh, okay, I can do this, I can do that, and it all seemed pretty intuitive. So when you say, oh, how do I know what slimes like what particular food, I imagine this is one of those games where you play it long enough and you start learning like little things of like, oh, that's what that means, and start getting it. So I was
Might there have been a tutorial that you skipped?
Just like run in and shoot.
No.
You know, it's definitely a gradual game, and the more you get into it, the more fun it is. And the more intrigued you start getting about, well, how do I find this and where's that?
Oh, there is a Slimepedia. I did see
Yes.
that, and that tells you where all the diets are and stuff.
Slimepedia. But yeah, they're so cute, and I love it when they sing. It just
it does remind me of Pikmin quite a bit actually, because I love Pikmin.
Now, what is it? See, Pikmin is also kind of a wholesome game, but you don't
Yes.
want to torture your Pikmins. What is it
Well,
about
you
that
do.
game?
No,
that
but you
appeals to
do
you?
constantly,
Oh, okay, fair
because
enough.
you constantly
enough.
just throw them into battle, going, I ain't doing
Okay.
that. Fucking you do it. You know, that's what you do. So
it's so lovely. You really
Yeah.
are. I know
Yes.
exactly what Tara sees in you.
yeah. I'm not doing that. You do it, you little plant.
You do it.
So they've announced Pikmin 4 as well, which I'm very pleased about,
Ooh,
because I just finished Pikmin 3. So yeah, and Pikmin's one of those franchises that Nintendo sort of don't really look after that well. They poop one out every now and again, and it's very quiet. It's not like a big Nintendo release. So I'm very pleased that a new Pikmin's
It's
coming.
not their flagship title, but
No.
you know, enough people like it. They keep coming out with them.
Yeah. It's that I feel like as long as Nintendo like their own franchises, they'll still come out, which is probably why like we never got a Metroid for ages, because I don't think they didn't even make it, did they? So whatever. Yes. So I'm enjoying it, Susan. I have to say I do quite like it. I'm just joking about how mean I'm being. I can see some potential in it. I only played it for like 20 minutes because I wanted something to talk about. And I know Slime Rancher 1 is such a sort of like cult hit that a lot of people play. And
And it's just about to drop off Game Pass. Oh,
yeah, well, that's why I thought I'll give 2
Stormer.
a go, and because that was just added. And I think it's like sort of like game preview, so it's not quite finished or anything like that. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. So maybe next week I'll play more of it. I'm intrigued. I'll say that much about it. What happens? You know when they poop out those little diamonds, right?
Yeah.
When I put it into that machine, what does that do?
It sells them, so that's how you get more money.
Right? Is that how you get money?
That's like trading gilts or whatever on the stock market, and the price goes up and down, and you can eventually get a storage where you can put them in there. So you know you've got lots of little pink poos, you can put them in the storage and save them until the price goes up, and then sell them all on.
Why would the price go up or down? Just lack of like you have a like.
Market, yeah. So you know people want lots of pink because you know somebody on Instagram said, hey, you know everybody wants pink these days.
Right.
So yeah, whatever. Influencer said.
Right. Okay.
So
Funny.
yes, the prices.
Why do
go
any
up
stock
and-
prices go up or down? I mean,
Yeah.
No,
that's
why
true.
do any
There
stock
you go.
prices go up or down?
There you go.
it's all a big casino,
Posh gambling is what I call it. Anyway, so
pretty much.
Susan, have you played anything else?
I've got a few kind of on the go, but I haven't played particularly any.
Go on.
this week.
What's your on the go stuff?
I've started As Dusk Falls.
Oh.
Yes, I started
Yeah.
that a few weeks back. I think when it first came out on Game Pass actually, and I've played I think the first kind of chapter. But yeah, that's right up my street. But I haven't got the concentration at the moment, so I played something else.
It is. You can't play it in chunks.
Yeah, it
little
is. You can
bites.
just do a bit at a time, so which I quite like. So
Yeah.
So yeah, and I was looking forward to that because when it was announced, I think it was whatever Xboxy thingy, and they had like a preview, and I was like, oh, that looks really good. I really
It
like
does. Yeah.
and it
It's
does
good.
actually bear out because because when I've played it, I thought, oh yeah, and it's quite. I think you've talked about it before. It's kind of a weird visual presentation,
Yes.
where you've got kind of the background and you've got this kind of comic-y, almost like a graphic novel, isn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, well weird.
I think it's an elegant solution to making these games quickly. I assume that it's quicker than fully making a 3D character move around and animate. So, if they can like stick to this style and then just keep knocking them out and just adding to the story, because this, unfortunately, As Dusk Falls is like it doesn't finish completing the story. There's like a bit of a thing at the end as well. So like there's more coming. So, if they can like keep momentum, because the problem with these games is that they need momentum. They need you to be excited for the next one, and what Walking Dead failed to do was like, oh, no one cares about the next episode now because it was so long ago or whatever. So or the next season. So yeah, it's a good effort though, Susan. I don't usually like these types of games, but I did like this one. I thought it was good.
I'm liking it so far, and I really like The Walking Dead, but I only played the first season, and probably for that reason there was too long a gap between the first one and the second one. So I think I just kind of whatever. You stop caring, don't you?
Correct.
Whereas you were caring a lot during it, and it was all a bit emotional.
Well, it's like TV shows though, when like they bring someone back and you're like, I don't remember them. I don't remember them. That was 2 years ago. I can't remember anything.
He's got a heartbreaking decision to make about whether his best friend lives or dies.
There's a lot of that. There's a lot of that.
A lot of that.
Yeah. And also sometimes you like whether you live or die. Yeah. So. Okay. What else, Susan? What else have you been playing apart from As Dusk Falls?
I'm trying to think. To be fair, I haven't really played much more. I've got a load that I've kind of started and want to carry on with, but then I keep zipping around, like I say, like a complete trollop. So, but I've played mobile games. I've found out, which I didn't know, that Netflix has got games.
Yes, I still haven't tried those.
Yeah, I've never touched them yet.
I only knew this the other week, and I was like, I've had Netflix for centuries. How does not know this? They kept it really quiet.
Yeah.
Really quiet.
Did you play any of them? Have you given them a shot?
Yeah, I have.
Are they good? Like the thing that I worry about is like the control response, because if it's streaming, you know what I mean? Like, is it gonna respond?
No,
quickly?
I mean these are like proper mobile games. They're not like streaming. So it's not like playing, like cloud gaming where you play.
Yeah. So you download something to your device or whatever.
So it's just like a normal mobile game. So there's one that's like a normal kind of match 3 game that I play a lot, and that's called Knittens. And of course it's got a cat in it. And you put different outfits on the cat which you knit.
It's got Mahjong Solitaire on it.
Oh, yes, that's pretty good. And there's a Stranger Things version of it, so you have little Stranger Things type tiles. So I played that one. There's another one, Bowling Ballers, which
I just saw that one.
It's pretty. I love that one. I'm completely addicted to that one. Which you just sort of, and you can use your finger to kind of guide the bowling ball and jump over objects or hit objects that's pretty cool.
Oh, you got to download the Netflix. No, you just download. Yeah, it just takes you to a link to the actual app on the App Store.
Yeah. So or you can. I think you can go into the App Store and just put like Netflix in, and it'll come up as the developer.
Yeah.
So yeah, I played quite a few of those, and they're pretty cool. And the other thing is like normally if you sort of download a game off the mobile app store, there's always the option to kind of pay, and you're limited to how many goes you can get, or otherwise you have to pay and then it runs out of time, and so you don't have that.
That's
which
brilliant.
I love. So you can just go crazy and play Knittens until you drop dead.
So I've just downloaded the bowling game.
I love the bowling game a lot.
So I'm playing it live.
It's very addictive.
But it was very easy to do.
Yeah, really. And I'm amazed because it was somebody else that told me about it. I don't actually think it was on our Discord. It was on another Discord that I happened to be a member of. I'm not going to be. But yeah, somebody else mentioned it. And I thought, what? I don't know about that. I knew about Prime Gaming. Sorry, Duke. Knew about that. But no, never heard of Netflix gaming, but yeah, mobile games.
Yeah, I think we once
There's
talked
about
about
20
it.
of them.
We talked about it on the show, and then said, "Oh, we're going to play them," and then we never did. That sounds like us, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. So. But yeah, it's really
But I wouldn't have to do anything to
cool.
get those, so I should give them.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got Netflix.
Well, I'm playing this
Not that
bowling.
it's a big investment of time to do Game Pass, but
I'm playing this bowling game now, and so this bowling game is kind of like an infinite runner, but you're a bowling ball.
You're a bowling ball.
Okay.
But it's you know what I like about it is like the polish. It's polished. It's like maybe like the Netflix games are kind of like a quality assurance barrier.
They're not gonna have crap on their service, man.
No.
Unlike the movies that they make, or their original movies tend to be pretty weak, but
yeah.
Yeah, no, and like I say, there's no kind of you don't have to pay any money for them. There's no kind of, oh well, if you want to go to the next level, you're gonna have to pay whatever, or you want to pay for more.
You'd have to see a little ad between levels.
Yeah, there's no ads or anything. It's really good. I've really enjoyed
Susan,
it.
do us a favor and just say, just play it. Everybody should just play it. There's no reason not to play it. There you go.
Just play it, right? Just play
it. You're turning into Stu.
I am turning into Stu. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Yeah.
That's good.
There's worse
That's good
people
that
we
is.
could turn into.
That's good that is, Susan. I like that.
Well, there you go. You got a game on now.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm gonna
Even
download a
more
few of
glad.
those. Yeah, just now and again, just to
I
have a little.
can't think that Nittens is your thing. And
You never know what's going to click with Chinny. Maybe he'll come back next week and be like, I can't get enough of
outfits for your cats, and it's like a match 3 thing, and it's just.
I like match 3 enough.
Yeah, I like match 3. I don't mind match 3.
Mm.
I just don't. Yeah, like I don't really play mobile games very much because I don't really like games that try to be more than just a mobile game. Do you know what I mean? Like they overreach it a bit, and when they try and be like some sort of AAA thing, or I like a mobile game to be like this quick little look. I just played that little bowling thing. I put it down. I forget about
You've
it.
got
Like,
5 minutes spare. You just play
I don't want. That's why I like balls, because balls is just like you just play it and you're done, and it saves you progress and you move on. Balls. So I don't. I like my mobile games to be just quick and simple and nothing too
easy to start, easy to quit.
I don't have to invest a lot of effort into
because
it.
if you wanted to really concentrate on a game, you'd play it on a console or PC, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's my game.
Well, and if you have time, that's the other thing. Like, if you're riding a bus for an hour a day, okay, I can see mobile gaming being useful. But like for me, if I have the time to play a game, like I'm just gonna sit in front of the PC or whatever.
And if I do that, like you say, if I'm at a hotel or something, I'll take my Switch. Do you know what I mean? I won't play.
Right, sure, exactly.
On my phone,
Unless it's
like
that's
something
the thing
really
with
addictive.
mobiles, right? Most people who are going to play games for extended periods of time, not in front of a console or PC, are going to buy a console just for that, like a handheld of some
like
kind. So mobile developers
Steam
are
Deck,
in a really
which
rough
is what
spot.
Stu's doing now.
There you go.
He's maxing out his
All right.
He loves it. He loves
Yeah,
it.
he is. Should we talk about a little news, or does anyone else have?
I've got another game that I've played.
Okay, Chinny's got one more.
It's called Spider Heck.
Oh, I saw
Spider
that,
Heck.
and I thought, just the name of it.
Yeah,
I've never heard of this.
So this is Spider Hack. It's kind of like Smash Brothers, so like a 2D brawler, but you're a spider, and you can pick up like crossbows and lightsabers and stuff.
I got you.
And it's a kind of
Is it on a console?
It's on the Xbox Game Pass thing. It's probably on PC as well. So yeah, it's like just a 2D brawler. You're a spider. You can customize your spider. You can wear like a little cowboy hat and all that sort of stuff. You collect little weapons, so crossbows, bazookas, rocket launchers, and lightsabers. The cool thing you can do as well with the lightsabers is that you can throw all your weapons, but you can also Jedi mind them back a little bit.
Interesting.
And you can do like rope swings. Well, look, silk swings, I suppose. Like kind of like in Worms, where you do like the rope maneuvers and stuff.
Yeah, right. Sure.
And then some of the different levels are like in 0G. So like this level here on the screen is in 0G. So you sort of
you don't have gravity helping you so much.
So it's kind of it's a lot of fun. It is fun. It's very chaotic.
Sure.
It would be fun with a couple people that you know. I was just playing with a bunch of randos because it's all online sort of matches and stuff like that.
Sure.
Tara's here. Susan's on the show. Look.
Hey, Tara.
There you go. Yeah. So
Chinny, would you say that at some point did someone say this about your character or someone else in the game?
But she's got a new hat.
Was there that?
Yeah, there's definitely
You got different hats.
there's definitely spiders with different hats. It's pretty chaotic, but it's also like some of it's just down to dumb luck. Do you know what I mean? It's down to just like
well, sometimes that makes a game a lot more fun. Is you just get lucky.
So it's all right. I think it would be fun if we jumped in like and had a game ourselves. It doesn't have a lot of staying power in terms of like
not a lot of depth.
No, it's not like Rocket League where when Rocket League came out, I was obsessed with it and I was like, I just want to play it. Whereas this, you are leaving. I know there's a bit of luck in Rocket League sometimes, but you are leaving a lot to lady luck and just hoping for the best sometimes. So
enjoying the madness of everything flying around.
Yeah, it's good though. It's fun. Like just like a stupid little 2D brawler spider game. I never would have put it together. Who'd have thought it? But there you are. That's a 2D. So it's not bad. I probably won't play it again unless like, oh, we've got 3 people ready to go. So you want to be the 4th, and I would play it.
It's kind of like Among Us in that regard. Like it's much more fun when you have people you know.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely. Matt West in the chat says, "Have you ever thought about creating your own game?" No.
I have. I thought that because there's that RPG Maker. I know it may not have been asked to me, but whatever. I've always thought, like, I wonder if I could come up, because I always complain about the stories in RPGs. I love Skyrim, but the story is fucking stupid. Witcher 3 is known for its amazing story. Dude beat his wife almost to death, but he had good reasons, man. Like, whatever. I wonder if I could make a good RPG with a story. I don't know that I would, but I've thought about, like,
well, it's just another platform for a story, isn't it, for you? So
yeah, but on the other hand, like, there's the gameplay element that has to be fun as well. So if I'm writing a book, I can just tell the story in that book, or if I'm doing whatever.
You need an excuse for hundreds of people to die, which is what they need in video games. Susan, have you ever thought about making a game?
No, I haven't. Because I know it's just I'm not that creatively talented in that way.
I have thought about making a game in Dreams, which is a game about making games.
Yeah,
and I wanted to make
a
walking simulator in Dreams because I hate walking simulators. So for Matt Weston might not know what walking simulators are. So walking simulators are basically games that tell a story and you just sort of walk through and you read things or get a story told to you.
And occasionally there's a little bit of a puzzle or something.
Yeah, something like that. But like it's really, really stripped back.
Dear Esther is the worst game ever made.
Yeah, it's just you walking through and just reading things.
At the end, though, Dear Esther.
Yeah, it would have been if I wasn't gnashing my teeth into dust.
So I thought about making like a comedy walking simulator at some point, but yeah, I don't know, because in Dreams you can also download things that other people have made as well. So I could just download assets and create the game that I want rather than trying to make the thing.
You wouldn't have to spend nearly as much time developing the game.
No, so I've thought about that. So that's what we've been playing, Eric.
One more question though. Sean Thiel asked in the chat: are you still playing Simpsons Tapped Out?
I'm not. No. The game got too big. It just installs more and more stuff. And I just got
So is it size that's an issue, or you just found it cumbersome to load into?
No, it's size. It's size that's the issue. Like it's I mean, I don't have a lot of memory on my phone. I am probably getting a new phone this year.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just like, oh my god, like it keeps updating, it keeps doing this, and I sort of fell out of love with it a little bit. But I've still got a login and a password, and it remembers what your city looks like, so it's always there. Do you know what I mean? It's always there. So.
Sure.
Yeah, I might go back to it, but
yeah. All right, so should we talk about some gaming news?
Do we have gaming news?
I have several gaming news articles to talk about.
Oh my god,
so
you're taking
But first, Chinny, I hate to do this, but you said with regard to that spider combat game that you have a little weapon that you can fling around, and then you can. I think you said Jedi mind it back to you?
Yes.
No, Jedi mind tricks are when you dissuade people from thinking a certain way, and the Jedi power to use the Force to pull your lightsaber toward you, for instance, is different from Jedi mind tricks.
Boy, I really hope somebody got fired for that blunder.
So I hope you get fired for that blunder. All right, let's talk about
his face. Doesn't he look?
Yeah.
Bothered?
He's devastated. He can't believe he made such a foolish
I'll just say
mistake.
it. Let me just say this. Star Wars is dumb. Right, let's move on.
Shut up, you freaking nerds.
Putting news first.
How many times has this happened to you? You're playing Portal, you're loving it. It's never gets old as a video game, but you think to yourself, what if the graphics were better? Well,
No,
Jenny,
you said like
if you
Stu.
look in the, if you no, this is Stu. There's a game coming up that's gonna have a new graphics. Guess what game I'm talking about?
Yeah.
GTA? No. Guess again. The Witcher? No. Guess again. No, you're never gonna get
just
it.
tell me, Stu. Just tell me, Stu.
Portal. In the show notes under news, I put Portal RTX.
Oh, right,
'Cause there's visuals to go with this.
Wow, you
So from Polygon,
organised.
Portal fans will be able to see the test chambers of Aperture Science in a whole new light this fall when NVIDIA releases Portal with RTX, an updated version of the classic first-person platformer that brings ray-traced graphics to the game. Announced by the CEO during his keynote on Tuesday, it reimagines the classic game's graphics with full ray tracing and blah, blah, blah. Who cares? So the game's going to be exactly the same, but it'll look shinier and neat. Indirect lighting and global illumination, light scattering through volumetric effects such as fog and smoke.
You know how old
Yada, yada.
Portal is this year?
15 years old?
15 years old. Same age as Halo 3, Assassin's Creed 1, Call of Duty
Wow.
4.
Assassin's Creed 1, that's a long
I don't
time
know.
ago.
How old?
So, yeah, 15 years. 15 years.
It is
Okay.
15. Wow,
Yeah,
I got it
yeah,
right.
yeah.
How about that? It will be free as a free downloadable content for people who already own the original Portal.
Portal.
My time in Portal. Ooh, that would be a good
Oh,
crossover.
look at that.
Yeah. Presumably, this refers only to those who have a copy on Steam. NVIDIA's blog links to a Steam listing for Portal with RTX.
Who
so you can
doesn't
put it
have
on
a
your
copy
wish
of
list.
Portal on Steam?
I know, right? They give it away with your free new account.
Yeah.
Yada yada yada. So anyway, that's all there is to say about it. There's more, but there's no point in
Lovely.
continuing to read because it's just a thing coming out that it'll make Aperture Science look a little nicer.
It does look nicer, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's, but it was.
Why did they do this? I don't understand. There was something else that came out.
NVIDIA's trying to show off its graphics
Yes.
capabilities. I think that's
right.
all it is, really.
That
It's
makes
marketing.
sense. to
It's
me.
marketing.
Yeah, we're saying the name of their company now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And it's
it
also a
is-
good reason to
Why would
play
you just
Portal again.
Look,
replay to make it
Yeah.
look prettier?
like
Right.
The Last of Us got remastered and then remade, right? And this is 15 years old, so this probably justifies a bit of a
Right. This is going to look
bit of a
significantly
facelift.
different, right, compared to other games.
yeah.
And there's, to be fair, like on the website, there's this, one of those sliders that shows you what it looks like in the original, and then what it looks like with RTX, and everything's
Yeah.
shinier and neater, and the gameplay will be the
look
same,
good.
but obviously, it's kind
But
of.
the thing is, like Portal's art style is so good that it actually
Yeah.
doesn't age that badly anyway. So
No,
I was
definitely
thinking
not.
that. I never thought of it as being not particularly good to look at.
yeah,
No.
it still looks great.
Agreed.
So.
Yep.
Portal.
Next story: Diablo 4 closed beta coming soon. Some people may know that there is this Diablo Immortal, which is a pay-to-win game, or not necessarily pay-to-win, but they certainly hit you with the microtransactions hard. But Diablo 4 is going to be a new whole game. Immortal is not, it's here and there. It's free to play, and it's it's kind of choppy, not nearly as much of a story. So anyway, Diablo 4 also from Polygon. Diablo 4 developer Blizzard Entertainment will host a closed beta for its new action role-playing game. It announced Monday the confidential closed beta test will be playable in 2022 on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Windows PC, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X. And then there will be a public testing phase open to all, slated for early 2023. So, if you like Diablo,
I've never
yeah,
played a
watch
Diablo
for
game.
that.
Never.
You've never played a
Diablo's
Diablo?
really
Susan?
cool.
Have you
Yeah,
ever played
yeah,
Diablo?
yeah.
I was crazy into the first one. When the first one came out, it was an amazing kind of game when it first came out. There was, it was kind of like Gauntlet, but it was a bigger world, and there were dungeons that you could explore, and it felt really creepy and claustrophobic. I played some of Diablo 3, but it felt at a certain point like just going through the motions. I never really felt interested in the story or anything.
Yeah, I think I played Diablo 2. And I seem to remember it was one of the few games that my other half played, because he's not really massively into games, and he's he tends to just play FIFA. FIFA. He doesn't tend to even play that now. There's a couple of games that he's liked over the years, but Diablo 2 was one of them, and we used to fight over who was going to play it.
Wow.
We had one PC, and it was like, it's my go. So yeah. Diablo 2, and then I played Diablo 3, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. There's something kind of sweet about a couple fighting over whose turn it is to play the video game, because
like children,
that's not nearly as likely to happen now, because so many games are co-op, and each person is likely to have their own little gaming station. But
it reminded me of like when we were kids and we had like one Rubik's cube,
right?
And me and my brother, and our kids used to fight over who was going to get the Rubik's cube. So.
Yeah, my brother and I do that as well with the Intellivision. All right, the Taliban is banning PUBG.
Finally.
There's a sentence you never thought you'd hear. Right, I know, right? It's crazy.
That's a bit specific.
Finally.
Yeah, this is from Boing Boing.
I think they see sense. They should just ban that game.
Most absurd thing ever. The Taliban, who have brutally reasserted control over Afghanistan after America left the region in 2021, have deemed certain video games too violent for children under their rule.
Even though they train them to hold machine guns and stuff like that.
I know, right? Yeah, it's crazy. But it's for moral purity they're fighting for. And so these games are going to corrupt their moral purity. They're not fighting for any reason in PUBG. Anyway, this is apparently a tweet. Which is something a lot of people in Afghanistan would love to have. I'm sure.
Yeah, they love it.
How people are starving there. Anyway, I guess this is a translation of a tweet. Player Unknown Battlegrounds is arguably the battle royale that juggernauts like Fortnite and Apex Legends were born from, but there are parts of the world where you're not even allowed to play it. Afghanistan will soon join that list. The Taliban, which took power last year, has confirmed it plans to implement a nationwide ban on both PUBG and TikTok. This comes courtesy of a report in the Kama Press. Quote, TikTok must be banned within a month time from now, and PUBG should be banned within the next 90 days. So I don't know why they're giving PUBG more time. I guess maybe
maybe they're Fortnite fans. Do you know what I mean?
Could be.
Why specifically PUBG? Because
maybe the guy who's in charge of banning things, he had a bad experience on PUBG and was like, you know what?
But
Fuck
then why
PUBG.
not ban it right away? Like if TikTok has to go away within a month, why does PUBG get 90 days? That's what I'm wondering. I think one of the senior commanders is really into PUBG, and he's like, "Oh, this is bad for kids." But God, I really want to get that solo chicken.
I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So anyway, that's kind of weird.
I don't disagree with the TikTok thing. I'd have to move though, because I am addicted to TikTok. But
TikTok, that is a rabbit hole.
I am addicted to it, but I know why somebody would want to ban that. Oh well.
Do you know why how people are cheating in chess? Did you hear about this big chess cheating scandal?
Chess cheating scandal?
Yeah, this is.
We cover all the video games here.
Yeah, we do. And this isn't really about video games, but I'm just fascinated by this story. So here's the basic overview. On Monday of this past week, reigning world chess champion Magnus Carlsen made just one move against his opponent, the American Grandmaster Hans Niemann, and then resigned, sending the chess world into a panic about a growing scandal with seemingly no resolution. Skipping down into the article, this is the thing most people have commented on because it's the most scandalous. It's going to get people's eyeballs, but it's also something that is pure speculation. Here's the quote from about halfway through this article. In the absence of clear proof of what exactly happened or whether someone even cheated or not, the back and forth has inspired all sorts of theories about if Niemann cheated or if Carlsen is just being paranoid after losing. Theories have also bloomed about how Niemann could have cheated. Given Niemann's willingness to play naked, some even joked that Niemann had discovered and stolen Carlsen's method of cheating using anal beads to receive outside communication.
What?
So if you thought that there was a day we were going to get through 1 week of the podcast without mentioning anal beads, this isn't it.
It wasn't me this week.
How do you no. I
So
don't
apparently, yeah, like from what I can gather, and I've read like 5 articles about this over the week.
Sure, you
right?
have.
But not actually experimenting.
I don't know.
Stu's not here.
How am I supposed to know? I
I've
don't know
read.
anything about it.
I've read.
So I've heard. There are certain devices that can be inserted into the human bottom, tush, that will vibrate a certain way to indicate this piece, a certain way to indicate that piece, and then a different way to indicate
vibration.
where it might move or something.
Wow.
So there could be somebody on
Isn't
the
that
other
how
end
the
of
guy
device.
who wants to be a millionaire?
Yeah, exactly. It buzzed 3 times for C. But so apparently the thinking is that somebody might be watching the match somewhere else and they put the game into Deep Blue or some other software, right?
Yeah.
And then the computer says, here's the best move. And then he communicates that move to the person with his anal
Who gets a
intrusion.
buzzing in his bum?
He says, ooh!
I think I've.
Oh, I know where I want to
Just-
play, yeah.
He's very excited about playing this game.
So
Crackers.
I don't know if that person actually has cheated that way before, but that's what people are talking about. So
Can we name the
If you
show
love
Anal
chess.
Chess? Can we name
Yeah.
the show?
why not? I mean,
You know, it could attract a whole new
Yeah.
audience. If
Yeah.
you could. I mean, if anal is a problem, you might just put chess in your butt or chess up
Yeah.
your butt or something like that.
Yeah.
There's ways around the censorship.
Bum chess.
butcher.
All right.
Butt chess,
This
yeah.
is. I thought this is a pretty interesting idea. So I'm curious to know y'all's take on it. The headline is, and this is from artnet.com. Can tattoos be reproduced in video games without an artist's permission?
Oh, this debate.
An
Yes.
Ohio jury will soon decide. Have you heard of this before, Jim?
So
I've
so
never heard
this came about with David Beckham. So David Beckham has a
Okay.
lot of
David Beckham.
Yeah, David Beckham. So David Beckham's tattoos used to be quite a big topic. So what
Yeah.
he would have, and a lot of people would copy him because people idolized David Beckham.
Right.
So a new tattoo from David Beckham was always a big thing, and he would have it at a specific place in New York and Miami and all sorts of stuff. So then to use his tattoos in FIFA was a problem. So then they would have to get permission from the artist. I think getting the purse string, get the wallet out is a bit strong. I think acknowledgement is probably the best answer, but you know, it is a person's work.
Yeah.
But then
and
you
a
could
person's
argue
artwork.
like, well, what is he really losing? He got paid for the job, you
Right.
know. Like somebody
Right.
gets paid to design.
And he's getting paid. It's going on someone that gets seen a lot.
Yeah.
So your profile is rising just by the fact that the person's playing the sport.
It's people wanting money
Amazon.
is essentially what it is, and
Yeah.
and it's like how far down do you go? I mean, there's the thing with the Eiffel Tower. If you take a video image of the Eiffel Tower in the day, that's fine. But if you do it at night, when it's sparkling every hour, that's a work of art, and you can't. That's
This is a
licensed.
thing on Wikipedia too. Like photographs of buildings in some cases are like copyrighted materials. You can't use them on
Yeah.
Wikipedia. You
Yeah.
have to have public domain images. and stuff.
Even
Yeah.
if you took a picture yourself.
So again,
Well, yeah, but it depends on if you take the picture yourself, you own the rights to it. But it's probably not buildings. It's like monuments and stuff. Like that might be copyrighted material. Like if you took a picture of the Mona Lisa, you can't use that on Wikipedia. Well, you can because that's old. But if you took a painting that came out last week, right? You took a picture of a Banksy, that's a copyrighted picture that someone owns, maybe.
but it's I think it's also like if you're commercially making something from it as well.
Well, but Wikipedia always wants to make sure that everything that they use is actually in the public domain and not just claiming fair use because they're not making a profit. So it's a
That's
little
fair
tricky,
enough.
but whatever.
Because
It's all-
Wikipedia are obviously quite tight on things and they don't want to be criticized.
Right, and they want it to be as free and accessible for everybody as possible. Like they still make discs with Wikipedia on it, so that people who don't have internet access can get the
Wow.
Wikipedia. It's crazy.
Back to the tattoo
there's
thing.
all sorts of
I think
elements.
you know David Beckham can choose anybody, right? People
Right.
are begging for David Beckham to choose them. So I think I mean, I'm sure Mr. Beckham pays a good amount of money for those tattoos. He's probably not charging, you know, paying 80 quid an hour or whatever. You know, these are thousands of pounds worth of art that he's having on his body.
Right.
I imagine an acknowledgement would get you just as much work You know,
Yeah.
if you made an
But it
arrangement
may not-
where I did David Beckham's tattoos, then I'm sure you would do well
Right.
for the rest of your life.
Yeah, sure, but it's also not necessarily just about the work you would get later, but like how much that work you've already done is worth. So anyway, here's a little bit from the article. An Ohio federal judge has ruled that the tattoos in question are in fact copyrighted, but it's up to a jury to decide if it's fair use to include them in the popular NBA 2K video game series. The case revolves around 6 tattoos that James Hayden, owner of Cleveland's Focused Tattoos, created for NBA players Danny Green, LeBron James, and Tristan Thompson. The tattoo artist registered the designs with the U.S. Copyright Office. In 2017, Hayden filed a lawsuit against video game developer 2K Games for what he contended was unauthorized use of his work in a series of games. They included realistic playable avatars of more than 400 NBA players, including Green, James, and Thompson, who are each depicted with their individual tattoos. So, yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about it, to be honest, because I want artists to get everything that's coming to them. But on the other hand, the question for me is like, is this a significant factor in whether people buy the game or not? And I think we all agree that it really is not.
Yeah.
So if they took the tattoos off, if they created the little avatars of those people, those sports people, without the tattoos, would they still be recognizable? Of course they would.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
So really,
and that apparently is the principle of de minimis. In Latin, in the court system, the tattoos are such an insignificant part of the game, the defense maintained, that they could be considered de minimis use, meaning just not significant at all.
Yeah.
So yeah. Now, if the game were about tattoos, like if you were playing somebody who made tattoos, and these designs were in the game, then I think that
or like
definitely
in like I'm thinking in skateboarding games or maybe in FIFA where you can add tattoos to your own avatar or something like that's
GTA
different.
San Andreas, that was the first time I remember.
Yeah, that's sort of different then because that you are taking that
that's
artwork
a
and
feature, isn't it?
yeah.
Right, but Rockstar is only having people in house design.
Oh,
that
of
shit.
course,
They're not
of course.
paying somebody.
Speaking of Rockstar,
Fred, make some tattoos for us.
Speaking of Rockstar,
Yes, go on.
I had quite a few people say to me, GTA 6 has been leaked. Blah, 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 blah. And I looked.
Are
I
you
watched
refusing
it.
to look at them without?
No, I watched it. I watched it, and I spoke to Susan very briefly about this on our Discord.
Okay.
I watched it, and I was like, yeah, okay. I wasn't blown away by it, but I also understand that it's early, and everybody sort of complained how bad it looks because the first thing I noticed that some of the NPCs don't have hair; they just have like sort of like a bald cap and a color. You know what I mean? Like if they got dark hair, they just have sort of like a bald black head and where hair would be. And I was like, this is obviously so early.
Yeah.
So I sort of refused to look at it because a part of the appeal for me is how exciting and good Rockstar are at introducing people to their games. So when they did the Max Payne 3 trailer, when they did the GTA 4, GTA 5, LA Noire, like all their games, they have great like presentation, and they go like this. Let me tell you about just Michael in GTA 5. So they have a whole trailer for Michael, and usually they just have like a reveal trailer, and it's just atmosphere and setting and vibe and all that sort of stuff.
And then Chinny spends 2 hours getting into it,
breaking it down, and that has been lost because we've now seen like we've got a playable female character, and which is sort of rumored anyway.
And she's thick.
Yeah, and that's all fine. So what's really interesting, what's happened since then, is because a bunch of people complain saying, "Oh, it looks a bit rough. It looks a bit rough." This still might be like 3 years out, so you got to be wary of that. And like, half the video is like just a woman turning on the spot. Do you know what I mean? Because it's just. Right. It's just
development video.
Yeah, it's just development. It's just like, and it was sent on Slack and all this sort of stuff. So what's really interesting, what's happened since, is developers have started sharing their early work of their video games.
Oh, interesting.
Really?
So
to
say
how far away it is.
So
between,
the people that make Control, their Remedy, I think it's Remedy. So they're based in Finland. They said, here is a clip of our game 2 years before it came out. Yeah, and it looked fucking awful. It looked awful, right? And Control is a good looking game, with a lot of pretty physics, and she looked like a dinner lady for a start. Like she's dressed like a dinner lady, But I think they gave her clothes that sort of had like flow, so you could see her sort of flowing around. Anyway,
that's an interesting form of solidarity between developers.
Yeah, I like that.
Little Big Planet
solidarity.
The Little Big Planet developers did it with theirs. The Cult of the Lamb developers did it with theirs, and just said, look, these games look rough. And there's a game coming out called Vikings on Trampolines, which is about
Vikings on trampolines.
Vikings on trampolines. It's like a 2D platformer, but they're based on trampolines. Which is a very.
May have mentioned that.
Yeah. It's a very funny title, and it's a beautiful looking game. It's a 2D game, really good art style. But when you see the video that they released, I'll see if I can get it up on the stream. I'm sorry because I'm talking. Vikings on trampolines, early footage or something like that. When you see what they, what it used to look like, it looks like it was made on Microsoft Paint. Like it's ridiculous. Yeah, you know, instead of in the final game, they've got this like really elaborate tower with like a kind of horse's head on the top, and it's beautiful 2D art. But in the early development stuff, it's literally just a brown box with a kind of like a bad horse head on top, like a cartoon, like looks like a child drew it. Because it's all about boxing and blocking and making sure things are in the right place, and it's really, really nice to see, as you say, Duke, developers just going, look, they look at that footage and go, this game's going to be great, right?
Right, sure.
Because I know what it's going to be. Whereas, you know, idiots online are saying, "Oh, it looks so rough."
So many of them,
right?
Idiots, and you think, well, how do you think the games are just born looking good?
Right. I mean, yeah, exactly. Look at cake mix before it becomes a wedding cake or whatever. Like that's what happens with everything. Is like there's a gestation phase where the thing is rough, and then you add nice touches to make it look better. And I think it's the sad thing for me is how many people, like you say, Susan, like. You know, they want to get noticed for being critical. And it's like, let's pile onto this thing in this negative fashion just for a little bit of attention. It's like, dude, make something of your own to like get.
I mean, anything creative has got to go through that process. If you're looking at a book, you know, if you look at sort of the early, like the first draft of the book, it's not going to really resemble what it comes out in when it's published, or you know, a hit song. When somebody's just strumming it out on a guitar and getting the words in place, you know, you ever see the kind of lyrics that somebody's handwritten out when they've actually been writing the song, and you know, it's crossed things out, and so it's never going to look like it's finished form. But for people to say based on that, I felt really, really sorry for the devs. I really did, and it was nice to see a lot of other devs kind of posting. I didn't see them posting kind of their early stuff, but
so on the screen now I've got early footage of Control. So this is sort of what it looks like, and I know exactly what level this is and everything. So you know, I mean, and it looks so different to what, and they literally have boxes that say "throw me" on them. You know, so.
And the environs are red and green, right? Because it's all, you know, they're not. Here's the thing, and people probably know this, but you know, they're shaking out certain parts of the game, like the mechanics of it. And the irony is, the people who are complaining about how the GTA leaked footage looks are the ones who would be most furious if the mechanical parts of the game don't work well, which is what they need to do in this part of the development cycle. Like,
I mean, a decent game takes years to develop, and if they release them too quickly, we know what happens. I mean, look at Cyberpunk, which was a mess.
Yeah, and if you make it look too nice in this stage, then it's harder to test well because you're trying to get a lot of stuff moving
looking at the
around.
mechanics, aren't you? You need to just see how the cogs work before you put the skin on it.
Right.
Yeah,
Sometimes
I did. I
people on
felt
the
really
internet
sorry
are not
for
smart.
them. Really sorry, but yeah, it was quite scary that the hacker stole the source code and then he tried to blackmail them, which nasty.
Yeah,
so it wasn't just.
Where did they get the idea that you can just steal things and then like try to get money for them later? Like that's not the way GTA works. Oh wait, that's a joke from Trevor Noah on the Daily Show, but whatever. All right, a couple more news titles, articles. That's what they're called, news articles. This one I thought was pretty interesting, and then we'll have one fun thing to finish up. Homeland Security, the United States government has an Office of Homeland Security that was established after 9/11, investigating radicalization and video games. So this is from GameRant.com. The federal government has issued a grant for $699,000 to investigate radicalization in gaming communities. Several entities, from terrorism researchers to nonprofits, are going to tackle the issue of spreading extremism in video games and gaming communities. The funding comes from the Department of Homeland Security as part of the Targeted Violence and Terrorism Prevention Grant Program, TVTP. Awards 20 million, yada, 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 trying to fight it. The funding goes to Middlebury Center on yada, yada, yada. And this other organization, while many video game communities are amazing, the grant aims to ensure that all of them become better by raising social awareness, increasing media literacy and critical thinking, as well as improving civic engagement. Whenever video game communities are targeted by extremist or even terroristic ideas, they affect some of the more vulnerable people in these communities. People are known to experience anger toward video games, which likely makes them more prone to extremist influences. Adolescents and young adults are creating meaningful relationships online, and a bad actor can take advantage of that dynamic. According to the DHS, Department of Homeland Security, brief, the communities have been targets of even terrorist mobilization and training. While gamers are often the targets of extremists, game developers do not get a pass either. The DHS brief says that developers have failed to tackle the issues in the very communities they foster. The DHS believes the lack of awareness in countering radicalization has resulted in less safety. So there's obviously a balance act here. Like I don't like the idea of like government trying to make sure that, you know, everybody's happy and friendly when they're playing video games. But I do think that, you know, there's a lot of evidence that Discord communities, it's a petri dish for horrible people getting together and radicalizing young people, especially young guys, who don't have a lot of aim in their life, and they're looking for something to believe in, to belong to. And this is the same thing that, you know, Al-Qaeda does or whatever, you know, trying to find those loners who don't fit in and tell them, like, here's something that you can belong to, and, you know, getting them involved in horrible, you know, white supremacist activity or whatever it is. And Steve Bannon, one of Trump's biggest supporters and advisors, talked about how he used Gamergate as a way to get people to, you know, take part in the whole MAGA phenomenon. And that's messed up, because it means that, you know, the things that people are angry about for no good reason, women in video games, that I see it as people being used. They just see these sad people who don't have a lot of purpose in their lives, and they're like, I'm going to exploit them and get them to be the foot soldiers in this stupid war I'm fighting about, you know, cultural issues, or, you know, white, you know, racial elimination or whatever it is. So.
That's what I would have said.
Yeah. Exactly.
I was going to say that.
Anyway, yeah, there's more in the article, but I think we can move on.
I listened to an episode of Criminal where like a guy got recruited online. I think it was on Facebook or something. And he was a British guy. Yeah, and he went over and he got recruited by a terrorist organisation.
And I think it's very easy to say, like, well, those people are idiots, or those people choose to join ISIS, and therefore, like, the hell with them.
Are they? They're vulnerable. Like you said.
They're vulnerable, right? And I think that it's hard to know exactly what the answer is once somebody goes over there. But I think the point is that there's a lot of points on the journey where the larger society can and should step in and say, like, look, you deserve better than this. We should be creating better communities online so that, yeah, the vulnerable people don't get. Because it's very easy.
Same as grooming and stuff like that. You know, as soon as you put kids online, there's going to be people who.
Right.
Or anybody online, really. I mean, we don't get that sort of stuff in our Discord community, but that's because it's nice and friendly. But you can see it.
Not yet.
And it's relatively small too. That's the other thing, right? The bigger a community gets, the more likely it is that. And I saw an article, actually. I wish I had it in front of me, but like, yeah, there's an investigation into Twitch. I think it was the Washington Post, and they found that there are these grooming tactics. Yeah, that you know, that people will use to, because Twitch, you're not supposed to be broadcasting games if you're younger than 13. But there are some kids who end up using a friend's account, or they'll lie on whatever it is, and so these groomers, will like go and try to get them to like take their shirt off or whatever, and it's so sick and twisted. And I think as soon as it came out, of course, Twitch is like, oh, we're working on it, and I think I say this about Rocket League a lot. There's a lot of people who spout like racist and homophobic and just vile stuff on the game, and most of the time, the Reddit for Rocket League, for instance, or a lot of people on Twitter will say, well, they're doing everything they can. What else can they do? Just report them, and that's it. But as I've said before, if your kid went to school every day and got called a horrible racial slur at school by a different person every day, and then the school suspended the one person, and then the next day they suspended that person, and it kept happening, you would say to the school, like, you're not doing enough. You need to do more to make my kids safe, So I feel like these tech companies have responsibility to do more.
There's also the sense that if, you're playing Rocket League and people are coming out with these slurs all the time, it normalizes it.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you're not offended by those things, if you're not gay, or you're not black or whatever, and somebody's having a go, you hear that happening, and it's fine to do that. So
right, and then it's also right, and it's the way that and a lot of times I know that it is 12-year-olds trying to be edgy or whatever. They don't really mean anything racist. It doesn't matter. Like, the impact can still be the same, and they get with their friends and this and that, and it normalizes it, which then makes it less likely that if someone tries to come up to them saying like, hey, I can see you hate this group of people, I can see you don't like black people, it makes it less likely that they'll go, you suck, you get away from me. Instead, they'll think, well, hey, everyone else is using this language, maybe there's something to it. So I think there is a problem with normalized hatred and bigotry and stuff. So, all right, final news article. This is the 10 worst movie tie-in video games ranked.
Okay.
You ready for this? These are the 10 worst video games made out of movies.
All right.
This is from Screen Rant as well. Number 10, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem. I don't know that I ever played this.
No.
Did y'all ever play it?
No, I never.
Predator Requiem? Yeah.
No.
It might not be the worst Alien game. Aliens Colonial Marine saw a far harsher critical reception, but there isn't a worse game in the franchise in terms of direct movie tie-ins. Like the critically panned movie of the same name, Aliens vs. Predator Requiem set a new low when it was released for the PlayStation Portable in 2007.
Oh yeah, it's a PSP. I'm just trying to find it now. It's a PSP game.
I never got into Aliens versus Predator. The whole thing seemed like a just cash grab.
Wow, this is
it couldn't have been a
rough.
good story.
You know that early footage that we saw on GTA? This, it's like
is that what this is? The game promised to deliver on the power fantasy of playing as the Predator in a third-person action experience, but poor graphics, terrible AI, and the fact that the entire game was way too easy for anyone old enough to play it meant critics were left unimpressed by the whole thing.
Imagine it would be easy if you was the Predator, because you've got like laser cannons and...
Yeah, but Aliens ain't no pushover.
I suppose.
I'd like to be the Predator, I think. Well, I think the Predator's a bit more, I don't know, just a bit more to it.
Yeah.
I didn't like the Aliens.
Yeah, I feel like he enjoys himself a bit more there.
Yeah.
Well, he's got that cool hairstyle too.
Yeah.
Aliens are big, bald freaks.
Yeah.
Number 9, Alvin and the Chipmunks, 2007. I didn't know they made a game about this. The movie didn't receive a strong response from critics either, but this rhythm-based video game tie-in was even more negatively received. It has some redeeming qualities, not least a solid pop soundtrack to match its rock band-style gameplay, but it suffers from a similar problem to the movie. And that's that it assumes it can get away with a lot more because of its young target audience. And I don't think we need to say more about the fact that, games designed for kids tend to suck.
Yeah.
Number 8, I have heard of this one, but I've never played it. Catwoman, 2004. It would have been more surprising if the tie-in game for Catwoman had been good, but its failure to deliver a technically polished game meant it couldn't do justice to one of the strongest female DC characters either. And that's a good point. There really aren't any good... I mean, has there ever been a good Wonder Woman game? Or, X-Men characters, female characters? I feel like
I never play any of those type of games anymore.
Yeah,
really
I don't
watch
really
the
play
film, to be fair.
I guess I do sometimes. You ever play the Batman? I mean, there's good Batman games.
Yeah. I mean, the Batman's not too bad, but again, I'm not...
Well, the new
it's a
Gotham...
rarity among superheroes.
In the new Gotham Knights game, you can play as Batwoman.
Okay. Yeah. The game's action platformer style that loosely follows the plot of the movie had some promise. If there's one single element that ruins the experience, it's the in-game camera that's almost obnoxiously bad.
It looks a bit Prince of Persia-y.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Mm.
Ah.
Game's clunky controls. Even the most diehard Catwoman fan couldn't enjoy playing as the feline anti-hero when it's made so awkward. Number 7, Battleship 2012. I'm surprised that, I mean,
Yeah.
the board game's fun, but that's
Yeah.
like 2 people, and I don't know why you need to make it into a video game, but whatever. I was surprised when this movie came out, because I was like, how do you make a movie about this? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I've never even heard of the movie, but
Rihanna's in
wow.
it. Rihanna is in it.
Is she
Oh,
really?
well, it must
be
good.
Wow.
I think
Oh.
Liam Neeson is in it.
Oh, well, then you
Really?
do surprise me because he's an
Oof.
actual actor.
Yeah, but he's also
Yeah,
a
I
man
know,
that
right?
likes cash money.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah,
and I
yeah.
think in the movie got sort of laughed at because they literally sort of do like a handbrake turn, but with a battleship. I think they
Yeah.
turn it and drop an anchor, and it's like a kind of
Just
handbrake.
like whiz round.
Yeah,
Oh,
Ridiculous.
yeah.
It was a massive box office failure and one that most people would be happy to forget. But the movie produced not 1 but 2 separate video game tie-ins of the same name. While one, a turn-based strategy for handheld consoles, wasn't too bad, an FPS tie-in, which is what you're showing here, Chinny, on the screen, thank you, for PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 was a mistake to rival the movie. Some critics could see the potential, pointing out how the game tied together as sea and ground battles in quite a unique way. But most felt the 2 elements did not blend together at all well. Even worse, though, the presentation was so uninteresting that it's a hard game to get through despite being only a few hours long. Number 6 is E.T., which I would have thought would be number 1.
Well, that crashed the
So-
whole industry, didn't it?
This destroyed everything. I don't know that we need to get into this, but if you haven't heard it or seen about it, there's a really good documentary about the E.T. video games being buried in the desert. They go digging it up to look for these cartridges. It's just atrocious. Moving on to number 5, Fight Club 2004. I love this movie, and I remember seeing the video game in the communist game shop back in the day, and I remember thinking, there's no way that's going to be good. So
No.
I'm glad to see that it did not, in fact, turn
Didn't
out
even
good.
know it was a game.
Yeah. Released a whole 5 years after the movie. It's hard to say who the game is for, but it didn't go down well with critics or
Oh,
fans.
it's like a Street Fighter. It's like a 3D. It's
Yeah.
like more like Tekken, like a 3D
Yeah, right.
fighting game.
There is a hardcore mode where injuries are carried over from each fight as the player
Wow.
tries to rise through the ranks of the club, but it can't hide the awkward and dated mechanics that underpin its 3D combat. Sloppily executed and full of strange details, like an appearance from Limp Bizkit's Fred Durst.
Chocolate
Fight-
starfish.
Keep rolling. Fight Club is
rolling,
bizarre,
rolling.
even by bad game standards.
And the hot dog flavored wow.
Mad
Imagine him
TV did
just
some funny
ordering-
it was just like having Fred Durst on the podcast there.
Imagine him
Yeah,
ordering
for a
like
second.
a McDonald's. Can I have a
Yeah.
Big Mac, please? With extra fries. Yeah.
Oh.
All right, Fred. Your
Number
name's
4,
Fred.
Ghostbusters 2016. I thought I remembered you and Stu liking this game.
I think this might be.
No,
a
you
different
liked
one.
Ghostbusters, the video game. That was a different title.
Ghostbusters 2009. I think that one came out or something like that. This is 2016, which is like the
Yeah.
isometric one.
Yeah,
I
it is.
think.
Though the 2016 movie that inspired it had its fair share of fans, it's unlikely even that much can be said in defense of this Ghostbusters video game. Though an action game set after the movie and centered on the whole new group of 4 Ghostbusters could have been interesting, and even the core mechanics are solid, the execution struck critics as particularly uninspired. I don't see how this is worse than E.T., though.
A game that crashed the industry.
Yeah, exactly. The game has players endlessly clear out ghosts in linear and repetitive levels, while its poor writing means that even the story can't help making things less of a slog. Many felt the game couldn't have been more obviously a lazy cash grab. Number
Well, yeah.
3,
All
Ants.
cash grabs, all of them.
They
And
are.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
tie-ins,
Except for
gotta be-
Goldeneye.
Now,
Except for
Yeah,
Goldeneye.
you're
right.
just trying to cash it, aren't you?
And Quantum of Solace. Ants Extreme Racing is number 3. I never even saw Ants. Did y'all see Ants?
I saw the film. Yeah, it's got.
Yeah, saw
I
the
feel
film.
like Ants and Bugs Life came out at the same. It's one of
They
those
did.
weird situations
Yeah, they
where
kinda
these
blend
2
into
films come
one.
at the same time. It's like, how do y'all have the same idea at the same? It's like Ex Machina and Her. It's like the
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
most important movies ever made about AI, and they both dropped like 1 year apart. It's like that's
Well,
so weird.
there is a science to that. Like everybody gets influenced by
really?
the same thing. Yeah, I've seen some
Interesting.
fucking video about it. But yeah,
Oh,
but
I saw
people,
something about
but the same people get influenced by the same thing, like because culture
Right.
affects the people at the same time. So like that's why we get 2 Meteor movies, like
Right,
you know, Deep Impact
and,
and,
whatever the other one was.
what was the other one called? I
Well,
don't
there's
wanna
Armageddon,
miss
but I
a
don't know if it's at the
thing.
same time. whatever. There are some great racing video games outside the Mario Kart franchise, but Ants Extreme Racing goes down as one of the worst entries in the genre.
I mean, why would you even?
Because actually we have audio from the development of this game.
Yeah, we do.
So we're very
exclusive
lucky
interview.
that we can hear. All right, people, listen up. Here's what's going on. We got this stupid movie coming out about the bugs. Bugs Life? No, it's ants. Whatever. I don't know.
Not
Roaches. Ants. I don't know. So it's about ants. So we need to make a game about the ants. What should we do?
Well, everybody knows ants are really fast, so why don't we make them like race?
Done. Start working on it.
Cool.
Meeting dismissed. So that was what happened apparently at the actual thing. With only based on the 98 movie, the tie-in didn't release until 4 years later. And if there were any diehard Ants fans left, even they would have been disappointed. With only 6 characters and a generic premise needing to rise through the racing ranks, the game wasn't promising in the first place. But ugly graphics and bizarre level design. I'm sensing a pattern here in these. Critics panned the title and suggested that even the youngest kids that formed its target audience shouldn't ever touch this game.
That's pretty bad.
All right, 2 more here. Yeah, exactly. Number 2, Bad Boys, Miami Takedown, 2004.
Okay.
It's rare for a movie tie-in game to be better than its film counterpart, but it does happen. Unfortunately, Bad Boys Miami Takedown couldn't even look like a worthy effort next to the critically panned Bad Boys 2. Now, I've never seen any of the Bad Boys games. Are y'all fans of Will Smith and
you mean the
Lawrence,
movies?
right?
You mean the movies?
Yeah.
Yeah, the movies are okay. They're Michael Bay silliness.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
so there's good stuff in them.
Yeah, I remember I was doing some mindfulness with students once upon a time, telling them to just, take a deep breath. And this woman who was, an assistant in the room started quoting some line from the Bad Boys movies. And apparently it was something to do with Will Smith seeing a therapist who was trying to help him relax. And there was some sex involved or something. So when she said the line from the movie, and I had never seen it, but I was like, that's interesting. So she's like, yeah, have you seen Bad Boys? Just ooh, ah, or something like that. There's some phrase he says. And I looked it up online and yeah, this woman lifts her head up, and I'm just like, oh my God, she's quoting this thing from this movie.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyway, a 2-player co-op mode could have made the game fun, but it oddly chooses to alternate between the 2 main characters throughout the levels. So it could have been Army of 2, those great games.
Yeah. The good thing about Bad Boys Miami Takedown, the video game available on the PlayStation 2, is that Will Smith's character has a really good slap in it.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
He's really
And you just, keep my wife's name out your mouth.
Yeah, slapping people.
The gameplay is chaotic and action-packed, but its attempt to be a serious shooter only puts more emphasis on how lackluster it is. Very far behind the times. It hasn't aged well since then. And the number 1 worst movie game tie-in of all times... Charlie's Angels, 2003, which is a shame because you would hope that they would make a good game out of Charlie's Angels.
Never even heard of it.
I know, right? With an average score of 23 out of 100 on Metacritic, Charlie's Angels is in a league of its own. See what they did there? It's very clever. Even among other poor attempts at movie tie-in games. A 3D beat-em-up, the game puts the player in control of the angels as they proceed through stages and defeat every last enemy until invisible walls disappear, allowing them to progress. That's excruciating alone, but critics were able to find no redeeming features in the game's terrible graphics, clunky controls, awkward camera, and glitchy levels. Though the 2000 movie wasn't well received, it still doesn't deserve to be associated with the worst video game movie tie-in in history. And I haven't played this. The graphics don't look great on this footage that
she is in a bikini, so there's not.
It's not as bad as E.T. though, is it?
It can't be as bad as E.T., can it?
Can't be as bad as E.T. But it's hard to judge a game
it looks awful,
from
but
one generation compared to, the Atari 2600. They just didn't have any ability.
They didn't even know what video games were.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, that is the end of the news.
We have an email.
Oof. All right, let's have an email.
Whoa, that ruled.
Emails from Antonio.
Oh.
And he says,
All
evening, lads. He didn't know he was on
that?
there.
So, wait a minute. You said we had one email, Chinny?
Yeah.
Funny, the contest for shirts
I know,
ended, and suddenly we
weird.
have no email. Imagine, I don't know what the connection
Because
is.
they're lechy bastards.
People love free stuff.
all after
That's- well,
free.
that's
And
all.
Antonio already has a free shirt because he's.
Yeah. So
Yeah, he's just
Antonio's
doing
the
it for
real
love.
OG. Yeah. He's
Uh,
Do it for love.
Okay, so he says EGX was this weekend. Did you miss it at all? Did you even know it was happening?
I did not.
I did.
And when are they going to get the fireworks? Get to the fireworks factory. Seriously though, I don't find myself missing the event in any way, minus meeting the community and checking out the merchandise. On the other stalls, I say that the board game section was pretty great. Was curious about your thoughts regarding it, since Duke can't exactly answer the question. Eric, how are those papers coming along? And what would you say is the most common grade you give out in all your grades in class? Big love as always, Antonio. So,
It is
go on,
a
do you want
good
to answer
question.
your bit first, Duke?
So I think, strangely enough, that I can only really speak to the stack I've been grading today. I think B is the most common one because I'm trying. And this reminds me of something I need to say. Nobody cares.
So this
but I'll
is
say it.
where Stu usually gives a long answer and Duke goes, "Oh, well, just answer
yeah,
the
well,
question."
But when it comes up to school stuff, I got something to say always. I've always been a generous grader. I remember my first year teaching in Wisconsin, there was a student who said, "Why are you so easy as a teacher?" And I said, there's a lot of reasons. I won't bore you with the details. The point is, I think if someone tries, they deserve a little bit of, pat on the back in terms of the grade. They're not going to get an A just because they give it a shot, but I don't think you deserve to fail if you meet the basic requirements. You know what I mean? So I've always been kind of generous with my grading, but lately, my school district, like a lot of school districts, have instituted policies where if you don't do the work, you get a 50% right off the bat.
Yeah.
It goes in the computer as a 50%, even if you don't do it at all.
Nice.
So people's grades as a result tend to be skewed higher. And there's no penalty for late work now. So whereas in the past, I would always, because here's the thing, at the end of the semester or the year, depending on how long the class is, I always wanted the person's grade to reflect how hard they worked, the quality of progress that they made, and, be a fair reflection of everything they did over the course of the semester. So I never wanted someone to get a D if they deserved a B, and I never wanted someone to have a grade that's too high or too low. So I've over the years, I've fine-tuned things. So the point is that lately, people's grades have been boosted upward, which makes our district look good, but I don't think it's necessarily fair in terms of what people are doing in the class. So now I'm trying to be a little more harsh with my grading and not automatically just give people, higher scores because I'm generally happy with what they wrote. So yeah, it's a B.
It's a B.
It's a B. That's the most common grade I've given on this assignment.
Yep. Still sounds too generous.
Yeah. It's an AP class, to be fair, so they tend to be a little more nerdy.
What's AP?
We'll see what happens when I grade my regular English.
What does an AP class mean?
Advanced placement. These are more motivated students, shall we say.
I see. Right. So regarding EGX, Antonio, no, I didn't miss it. I didn't miss everybody, and that's why we're sort of doing our own meetup in April. I just don't think we were quite ready to do it. Like go to London and meet up, and I just didn't get the impression that people are still ill. People are still getting it.
Yeah.
People are just starting to sort of, I know we've sort of been back to normal for about a year or so, but people are still getting it. People are still out there doing stuff.
Sure.
I'm
be careful.
I recently got it. Stu recently got it, and I know people in the other podcasts and stuff have, they've got it and stuff. So I don't feel like we feel safe enough. Maybe by next April we still won't, but like we're sort of, even if it's just like 10 of us that get there, you know what I mean? It'd be nice just to see Stu again, to be fair. So I'm not that fussed about numbers. It's just sort of, let's just arrange something and see who turns up. But regarding EGX now, I mean, I do, we have had some great laughs, and the last one was brilliant. The last EGX that we did in 2019 was so much fun. I got to see Robin's penis. It was great. And that footage is on my hard drive, Susan. I dread to think.
I really know.
Yeah.
As
So
much as I love Robin, I've never felt the need.
no, fair enough. But yeah, it was such a great weekend. It was so special because we had everybody from America, and yeah, it was a really really good one. So it's always going to be sort of like a come down from that. To be fair,
Yeah, but it's about the community, isn't it? It's not
Yeah.
about actually GX. I mean, if you put a number of the communities together and you all meet up anywhere,
yeah,
it's fun.
it's going to be a good fun. So maybe next year we'll do it. Maybe next year because in 2019, me and Stu just did Rest on our own, and we really enjoyed it. It was quite nice just to sort of like spend some time with Stu and just actually get to play games instead of just walking around dicking about and watching the cosplay competition and stuff or whatever we did last time we was there. So yeah, I didn't. I when I heard that it was on, I did know it was on. I was like, oh yeah, but it just doesn't feel like anybody's ready. Maybe next year, but I don't know what you think, Susan.
In one place, isn't it? It's just.
I don't know what you think, Susan. I know you've been ill and everything, but like whether like you picking up the same vibe as like it just didn't feel right to just do it.
I think there's a lot of people are feeling like that still though.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm going out and I'm living my life and I'm like doing whatever.
It's the fact there's a lot of people concentrated in one area.
And you're touching a thing. Do you know what I mean? You're touching a controller, so
whereas
it's
like if you meet up with some mates, you kind of know your mates, and or you go to the pub or this person meeting. You're not talking about as many people.
No.
And if it's more of a big event, right, and you pay significant money to get in, you're more likely to, and you're more likely to probably say, okay, yeah, I'm feeling a little sniffly, but I paid to go to this, like I'm not going to stay home. Whereas if you're hanging out with mates, you might be like, I'll give this one a miss if I'm not feeling super well. But of course, you can easily have it and not realize it. So that's
I think maybe we'll do it next year.
Stay tuned, people.
So, but yeah, in the meantime, I think we're going to do an arcade club next.
Yeah, I mean, it is for me. It's about. I'm not really bothered about going to EGX itself. It's more about meeting up with the guys and the community.
Could that be done outside? Because that would help to mitigate the risk, right? Just a meetup. I mean, and those who want to go in can go in. Those who don't, like.
I don't know.
I mean, I know you went to the Glastonbury. That was outside. But...
You're talking about Britain, and then when you're talking about Britain, you're talking about the weather.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what we can't rely on.
You can't plan things outside in Britain, really, especially in like April or October or September,
or August or anything like that.
Or July. Yeah.
Yeah, you never know.
If it's happening during a month in England, you just can't know.
Or it's freezing
Antonio asked to follow up in the
it's
chat.
Boiling heat, and 40 degrees or whatever you don't.
Right. Antonio asked in the chat, do you still have COVID anxiety? He said it keeps up from time to time with him. He went to a nightclub in Spain when visiting a friend. It overcame him and he had to leave. Yeah. I'm teaching with a mask on, but I'm the only one, like one of maybe two in our building of maybe 50 teachers who is wearing a mask when I teach. Very few students in my classes are wearing masks. And, the biggest problem with me wearing the mask in the classroom is that it's more exhausting. Like I have to talk through the mask and be heard. I'm a loud person in general when I teach, but I have to be even more, energetic to get through the mask and have that same impact. So it's a little rough.
People can't see the bottom of your face. It's very difficult. I was working in like social care, and my stepdad's in a care home now, and just trying to communicate with somebody with dementia without them being able to see half your face is very difficult.
Absolutely. And sorry, Chinny, I know you're about to say something. I want to say real quick about what Susan said. I had a student drop by this past week. I worked with her all last year, the entire school year. And I saw her and I was like, did she have some sort of surgery on her lips to make them more full? And then I realized I had never seen her without her mask. So I'd never seen her lips ever. And so I was like, oh, that's why it looks different to me, because usually there's this beige or black strip across the bottom of her face. Sorry, Chinny, you were going to say.
I had no anxiety about going out and talking to people and even shaking hands and things like that. It doesn't really bother me. But the last time I got COVID, I was sitting on that toilet thinking, maybe I should just fist pump people from now. Because I have no idea how I got it. Maybe I got it through snooker, because when you play snooker with a team, like you usually sort of shake the guy's hand, and I remember
it's airborne as well. So
and you're and snooker, you're in a very closed sort of small
And
room
I
and
think
everybody's
the last kind of variants have been really, really not as severe, but more virulent. They've spread much more easily. I think if like the original variant, which is the one that I got at first, was you had a chance of like infecting kind of 1 in every 15 people, and now it's more like 1 in every 5 or something. So and I was the same. Like I had COVID right at the beginning, which was March 2020, so before we even got locked down, and it was really nasty. And for a while I was so scared of getting it again because it nearly killed me the first time, and I was like, I don't want what's happening again. And then once I had my jabs, I was like, yeah, everything's fine now. But then when I've had it again the second time, I was like, I don't want it. I don't want it the third time. So now I'm really quite worried because I really don't want it again because I've not been well since I had it the second time.
Yeah.
So.
I think I would if I do go to EGX for anything, I would just make sure I've got like a hand sanitizer and
just be really careful.
That's all I'd sort of do. But I am of the mindset of like I've got to fucking carry on with my life. I can't do this.
There's a balance between it. It's kind of do you stop going out? And I know there's some people, particularly in the long COVID community, who really don't want to go out because they're like, and other people who've got various conditions where they're still really scared to go out.
Yeah.
Because it is so fast, and it is, but
I have to sort of get over it pretty quickly with work because like this week I filmed a conference with 150 people in the room, and it was the same 150 people for those 3 days, and you get chatting to them, and they all seem fine and everything. But yeah, I've got to get over it because that's my job, and I'm like, well, I've got to get into that, and you can take precautions, and I think that's the only way forward. Is like, okay, I won't shake people's hands, I'll just bump fists or some hand sanitizer and get on. I know the person that I work with a lot, Tom, he has hand sanitizer all the time. He never goes anywhere without it, and he's better at it than I am.
I've got hand sanitizer all the time.
So he's got it. He's not got it now, but he's had it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like you're gonna get it at some point, and maybe we'll get it again. I don't know, but I just can't. I can't live my life just inside all the time. I have to.
I think there's a degree to which our schools had to come back in session in person, I think. But I also think that it's a good opportunity for us to remind ourselves of just how important it is for us to provide protection for the most vulnerable around us. And it's very easy for, most of us to say like, well, even if you get it, it's going to be okay. For some people, it's not going to be okay. And we need to do things, and not everybody, I don't think that universal masking all the time is necessarily the answer, but I do think that there are little things we can do here and there that will make life safer for people who can't, there's people who can't get the vaccine and stuff, and they shouldn't be condemned to like stay inside forever just because, there's a little inconvenience for the rest of us.
Yeah. And then there's also the thing that, I don't wear a mask all the time, but I will still wear it more often than other people. If I'm going into a shop or something, I'll still put my mask on. If I'm around people that I don't know.
Right.
And there's still a lot of aggro that people are getting now for wearing masks. So it's like, it's because of you that we ended up locked down and, stop being so weird about the whole thing. Whereas I think that's a bit nasty because you don't know what other circumstances people are going through.
Right, exactly. And like in South Korea, like it's just pro forma. Like when there's a thing about, like you wear a mask. That's just the way it is.
Even
it's
if you've got the flu or the cold or something like that.
Right, and if you're sick, if you're sick, it's just common courtesy. But in the United States, and it sounds like in the UK as well, but certainly in the US, there's this ethic of like personal freedom and like I do whatever I want.
We've had all that as well. It's just
and it's sad that there's so little solidarity. Yeah, exactly. Like at the very least, leave people alone if they're wearing a mask.
Yeah, I don't wear a mask. It's very rare that I do, unless someone requests it for some reason. I think there was some instance at work where I was like, we got to wear masks for this. So I was like, yeah, it's fine. But I don't even notice if somebody's wearing one. No, I just, someone's wearing one in a shop. I don't even think about it really anymore. I just.
Yeah, but you're normal. There's some people who take it as a personal affront if you if you're wearing a mask, and for some people that is the only way they can go out. Not just if they're vulnerable physically, but also things like if they've got mental health issues and they suffer from anxiety, and having that that piece of paper in front of them just actually helps them. Or old people, there's a lot of old people.
I started wearing an iron mask. That's what I've started doing.
You are the man in the iron mask.
Yeah. I've started doing that, so that helps a lot with.
Thanks, Antonio, for the email. We appreciate that.
Well,
and you didn't even need to.
Yeah, well,
that's how you know Antonio is a good guy.
Yeah.
This is a far more serious show than I thought it would be.
I know, right?
Stu. But that's okay.
We love you, Stu.
Without Stu.
So anyway, so Stu hasn't quit the show yet.
Nope.
But we'll let you know if we'll let him back in next week because, frankly, we've enjoyed having Susan on the show.
We should just have like the Trafalgar Square, like the fourth plinth, where you just got a revolving artwork.
That's it.
Things.
Revolving guests.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to text him afterwards and say, don't bother coming back now.
Don't come back.
It's sorted.
Do we have any shout-outs, Susan?
I think we do.
It's time for a shout-out. Hey!
In fact, I remember putting one in my phone, but I don't remember who it was for. So let me find out.
I would like to shout out Stu. And just say hi, Stu. I have talked to him quite a bit this week.
Stu.
I'd like to shout out our Scooby-Doo. And also Marty, who's having a really tough time. Marty Fisher.
He is.
He's
Poor Marty.
really, really struggling at the moment.
This is why, I'm not on Twitter. I don't know anything. I'm just so ignorant to all this stuff.
Well, he can use our love and support. So
yeah, he's going through chemo, and it's battering him at the moment. It's absolutely battering him.
And it's unrelenting. Like it's been months and months where he's been like, I got to go in for this. I got to go in for that radiation and this, and it's just like, oh God, this guy can't catch a break.
And it's just.
But he's also so positive. He's so he's obviously having a hard time, but he's like. Every time I'm like, keep your head up, man. We love you. He's like, thanks, man. Best to you. And it's like,
he's
dude, if that was
really
me,
trying hard to keep getting, do it in his stride and stuff. But
right.
If
it's me, I'm like, fuck everybody, I hate you, you suck. I get to jump to the front of the line because I have cancer. I actually taught with someone who I still teach with him. He did that. Like I'd say, like, hey Tim, how was your weekend? He's like, well, I have cancer, so I'm like, damn, dude. But it's a coping mechanism, obviously, like you use humor and stuff. And I have tremendous respect for everybody who is able to, keep their sense of humor through that very difficult time.
Just a shout out to and basically anybody that is kind of on the Discord or the Twitters or Facebook's quite quiet, Instagram, whatever that is involved in the community. So, and if you're not on the Discord already, join the Discord because
join it, people.
Tweet
at me and I'll get you an invite if you need it. If you don't,
if anybody or me, if anybody wants to know.
Is there? You can go to the website maybe and do it that way or something.
Yeah, we can just send you.
There's ways into it. I will shout out Evil Shredder. He sent me a message on Xbox Live like 3 months ago, but I never go on there. So I was looking into how much it costs for the Game Pass this week. I didn't join it, even though it said get a month for $1, and I was like, oh man, $1, ugh. But I knew I wouldn't play it this week, so maybe next week. Anyway, so So thanks to Evil Shredder, and thanks to Susan for coming on and joining us. It's been great having you here.
You're welcome. Love you both.
Yeah, thanks to everybody in the chat: Hardly Dan, GH Rocker, Soul Brother, James Bevan, Matt Weston, Rainy Lamb, Darren Sim, Sean Deal, and everybody else that I missed. We love y'all.
Shout out to Stu, I guess. And also Susan for coming onto the show and doing all the great work. Obviously, that's right. Susan will get a t-shirt because she's great.
Yeah. But I didn't send an email.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, but you know what? You're special enough. You don't have to.
You get one by default.
That's right.
I feel so good.
Default.
So, yeah, I've got an update on the designs. Jamie, who's working on the designs, he sent me a bunch of designs. I was like, yeah, they look great. Just send me those. All right. And he was like, no, those are the rough versions. And I'm like, Jamie, I don't want you to work on them too much, right? Because he's doing them like in his own time, like on weekends and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And I'm like, Jamie, just that's fine. Just do it. And he's like, no. And then he showed me like the sort of designs that he's done, like again, the better ones. And they are way better, actually. So I was like, okay, fair enough. Fair enough to the guy.
See, it doesn't matter that he's doing it for free. You should drive him the way you drive your slimes, man. Get to work, get back in that studio, and don't come back until you have a perfect design for us.
Yeah, yeah. So Matt Weston saw some of those designs. He saw some. Jamie showed me at work like just what they look like. I was like, man, it's just like, I didn't think they'd be so good, but yeah, no, it's good fun. Yeah. So shout out to them. Shout out to Susan. Shout out to Matt Weston. I did play Warzone with Matt Weston this week. Was that this week, Matt? I can't remember. And I felt like an old man playing Warzone. I really did. Because Matt plays it like every...
Why did the Taliban not ban that?
I don't know. It's like a good recruiting tool, isn't it?
Yeah, there you go.
But yeah, he plays it all the time. Well, I don't know if he plays it every day, but I was just like, I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm so scared. I'm just scared all the time. Oh yeah, we played it on the day of the Queen's funeral. That was it.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I actually watched the funeral. I didn't watch all the other stuff that went on beforehand, but I did watch the funeral.
I was watching just to see if somebody dropped it or something. Like, but no.
Why didn't you stand in line for
with those
24
guys?
hours?
Yeah, we don't know because we like to queue.
Yeah.
Speaking of Beckham, there's a big furore going on at the moment because Beckham and a few other celebs did actually stand in line. So he stood in line for 14 hours.
Yeah, and he refused. Someone said you could come to the front. He was like, nope.
Yeah, and there's a couple of presenters over here that are very famous, and they've
they skipped the queue.
So much. Yeah, because apparently they skipped the queue, but they're arguing that actually there is journalists. They weren't filing past the coffin. They were in the journalist pod.
But you never saw any journalism being reported by them.
No,
because they're just TV morning presenters.
They weren't allowed to film when they were there because it was all very highly controlled.
But they didn't even go on the show going, let's talk about the experience. They just did it because they can.
Yeah, so there's a whole... I mean, they're going absolutely...
They was trying to get them sacked and everything, weren't they?
Yeah,
Holly and
there's a petition. There's something like 70,000 people.
It's weird. I know you don't know much about Holly and Phil, Duke, but like they were quite loved. They're quite like people really love... Because... Philip Schofield, he's been on TV for years. Absolutely years.
Started off on kids' TV years ago, like when I was a kid.
Yeah, and he had like actual colour in his hair. Now he's grey, and but he still looks pretty good. And he came out recently, and the whole nation supported him and all this sort of stuff.
But he was going to be outed. That's why he came out, which was quite sad.
Oh yeah, he was going to be outed. Yeah, that's right. But everybody sort of was like, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. But now he's jumped the queue. Everybody's because I tell you what,
the most hated person in the nation.
If somebody offered me to jump the queue, I would take it probably. So, because I've got no shame. And what I would have done on the next day on that TV show that they're on is like, I jumped the queue.
Yeah.
Because I am who I am.
I think people are more frustrated that they said it was for journo reasons and whatever. Anyway, so shout out to Phil and Ollie for jumping the queue. Well done. And the Queen for sticking to it, because we've been doing this podcast for 14 years, but the Queen was the Queen for about 70, so fair play.
Yeah.
She put the graft in.
Yeah. I don't think Charlie Boy will last as long.
No, I don't think so. Not with those fingers.
But sausage fingers.
I think if the Queen had to have a meeting with Stu every week, she would have quit being the Queen.
Yeah, if Stu was the Prime Minister.
Yeah. She's like, I'm out of here. I'm not doing this anymore. Somebody take it over. I think that's a show.
I think it is. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
If you like this podcast, there is another site you should check out, which is called VGHub.net.
People should go to VGHub.net, probably.
And now it's got hot new games like The Legend of Zoltar. Plus it cures all diseases,
into some butterscotch.
That's Patton Oswalt. He has a new special on Netflix, and it's good. I recommend people check it out.
I used to watch that all the time when I was a kid. Why don't you? used to love that program.
Yeah. There is a different version of that theme that I found on TikTok that I was going to send to Duke and throw Stu off.
Yeah.
Because I can't find that version that we have for the show.
Yeah.
I can't find that anywhere. But like the actual version that's sang by kids, which is the more famous one, I think.
No, that version you play is the proper one.
No, there's one by kids. There's one that's sang by kids.
That one.
Well, maybe they did that later on.
Yeah, I remember
for whatever reason, it's more
the guy
available.
Putting his foot through the TV and all that kind of shit.
Oh wow.
I don't know, but I'll find it out and get.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Good movie.
I've seen that.
Haven't seen that? I like.
I thought it was a bit.
You were talking about that the other week.
I thought it was a bit long.
It is long. It's very weird. They take some swings.
I don't mind the weird. Right, I like the weird. I like seeing a movie that I've never seen that before. Right.
They definitely have a bunch of that.
So they have a bunch of that, which is very good. But I think it's just a bit long. Like it's like I get it.
You're intentionally trying to asymptote it so that it starts off with like some weird stuff going on. We're not quite sure, and like really kind of creating some plot. And I think they're kind of flipping a few times along the way, and then like the end becomes like a lot to deal with. There's everything happening everywhere all at once.
I just think it draws it out a little too much. But
that's his maybe.
Jamie Lee Curtis is.
We didn't even realize that was her until the end credits, and we're like, "Who was that? Oh my god, it was her!" Yeah,
I spotted her straight away. I was like, "Oh my god!"
And Michelle Yeoh, I've loved her since
Michelle
Crouching
Yeoh,
Tiger, Hidden Dragon. She's awesome.
And the guy, I don't know the guy.
Yeah.
I don't know who he was, but he was great.
I don't know much about him, but yeah, he was good. We've been watching Fresh Off the Boat, so we went from one story about a Chinese American family with a small business to a TV show about a Chinese American family with a small business. And it's like, hey, that's just the weekend we've been having. So.
We're watching the Rings of Power thing.
Oh, I've been watching that.
I'm not really that impressed, to be honest. But
I think it's starting to. I think I've watched 4 episodes now, and it's starting to heat up a bit now. It's starting to get going, but it's been such a slow burn so far.
So
although it looks good.
It's pretty, but I've because we was going to watch Game of Thrones, all that, and not the 2 at the same time. I feel like I've missed out. I feel like I've missed out because everybody's like,
I'm done with Game of Thrones.
So far, The Rings of Power is my favourite of the 2.
Oh, right.
Although I'm not particularly enamoured with either of them, but then having said that, if you read any of sort of Tolkien's kind of other stuff that isn't Lord of the Rings, you know, like the Silmarillion and stuff, it's so heavy. So yeah, I think they're probably. I've not read the Unfinished Tales though. Have you read it, Duke? No.
No. I was not a Tolkien guy the way that my friends were. I read Lord of the Rings and I was like, yeah, this is great. I mean, obviously I recognize it as like the foundation, but then I was like getting into David Eddings and Roger Zalad. There were all these other fantasy writers that I was really into. So
I think that The Hobbit. My dad bought me The Hobbit as a book when I was 12. I've still got it because he wrote in it for your 12th birthday, and it was the first kind of fantasy book I'd ever read, and it blew my tiny little 12-year-old mind.
Oh, totally. I read it around that same time. I think we had it as an option in one of my English classes, I think, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So
no, I absolutely loved it. I think other than that, it was Alan Garner, who's kind of local. He's only based up in sort of Alderley Edge up here, but yeah, if you've ever read any of his, The Weird Stone of Brisingamen and that kind of stuff, very good stuff. Very good stuff. So other than that, I had not read any fantasy. So
you're so much smarter than me.
Well, yeah, you know.
Well, we all knew that.
But you're so much taller than us.
There you go. We've all got our things.
Yeah,
and I have more hats. Probably,
you've got more hats. I've got less beard. You know, my hair's more pink than yours is.
Today.
Yeah.
Today.
Right?
Today.
We've all got our little things, haven't we? So
yeah. I just can't read books. I find it very difficult.
Yeah, Tony can't. He doesn't read books either. Although I listen to a lot more books now because I have not got the concentration levels.
Oh right, yeah.
So Audible, or the BorrowBox app, which is
there's a bunch on Spotify too
now. Yeah, well there's a library app. So if you've got a library card for the library, you can just borrow books and you can borrow ebooks and audiobooks, and yeah, I love them audiobooks. So I was very upset because Hilary Mantel died this week. And
I don't know who that is.
Hilary Mantel wrote Wolf Hall, the Wolf Hall trilogy about Thomas Cromwell.
Okay.
She's such a good writer, amazing writer. But she won the book.
I'm reading a book by. Sorry.
Yeah, she won the book
I cut you off
3 times.
Oh, okay. There's a writer named Nnedi Okorafor, Nigerian American, who's really interesting. She wrote one called Akata Witch, which is one of the selections for my students. And I was like, that's the one I'm most interested to read. So I try to read one so that they know I'm reading at the same time they have to read. And I'm really into it. Yeah, it's fun. But I posted a thing on Twitter. There's this thing, a book within a book that someone's reading. This is video game related. In it, it says, there's these people who have magical powers. They're known as the leopard people, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, how do you figure out what your talents are? And it's like, oh, it might be something about you that the regular world doesn't approve of or whatever. And I'm not talking about things you choose for yourself. Like, you're too fat because you sit around playing video games all day and you eat too much. And I was like, hey, I feel like you're subtweeting about me, Nnedi Okorafor. So I tweeted at her hoping she might find it amusing. She didn't respond to it. So, yeah, what are you going to do? You always want your favorite people to love you on Twitter, but it doesn't happen very often.
Sometimes they don't.
Yeah. All right, I got to run, people. So
okay, that's enough. No more talking.
Right.
Night, guys.
Thank you so much, Susan.
No worries.
Yeah. Have a great evening, everybody.
Yes.
Bye.
Take care.